sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Yes, we have liftoff once more. I want to thank everyone for listening to this episode of the Big Truth Podcast. I'm sitting here today with my old friend Ruben and someone I call a brother. You might know him from such acts as the new Darkbuster. We can't just say Darkbuster anymore. We got to say the new iteration of the band formerly known as Darkbuster. You might know him from The Chosen Ones. You might know him from his sound system where he goes around the country playing punk rock and reggae records. Or you might have met him years ago as a roadie for Agnostic Front. I don't know how you might have met him, but and if you don't, you will be introduced to the man today. And I definitely want to thank you. He's out here from Austin. He came out to play some shows with the new Darkbuster and got stranded here amidst the COVID-19 coronavirus scare and shutdown and martial law or whatever you want to call it. But Ruben, what's up, man?
I'm happy to be here. I was having such a good time hanging out at the shop. I almost forgot about the virus situation.
I know. It's weird because you snap and you're in your regular life, and then some shit happens, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's going on.
Yeah.
And because I can't go into a restaurant or I can't go someplace at a certain time or whatever, you know what I mean? It's just bizarre, kind of.
It's real new.
Yeah, man, it is new. But so just as a quick kind of before because I'm sure that's the one of the topics of the day. We'll get into that more as we go through. Just kind of give everyone kind of a brief background on you and your musical history and whatever and then we'll kind of just go from there, man. Like,
okay, let me get closer to the mic here. Real professional.
No, it's fine.
My dad had an acoustic, so I picked that up for the first time and basically tried to play like Chuck Berry. And I had a paper route delivering Buffalo News. Well, back when they used to let kids deliver the newspaper. So
now it's an adult job.
Yeah. So anyway, I got ended up getting a Fender P bass because I wanted to be like all my heroes that played the Fender P. And I took some bass lessons and then started my first band about 16. Typical high school band.
What's a typical high school band?
I don't know, not very good. Guys from the neighborhood that could get to each other's garages or basements.
Sure. What kind of music was it?
It was punk rock stuff. Clash, Sham 69. I guess what everyone would call like the 70s era.
Sure. So, I know, and I forgot to mention in the intro, also a guest on the Bricktop record that, one of the records I was a guest on as well. And
easily the most fun I've ever had in the studio.
Yeah, man.
Hands down, no contest. That Bricktop session was so fun, man. That was an amazing trip. I'm so glad that you guys wanted me to be a part of that. And to this day, I'm still laughing about that.
Oh, no, I know. There was a lot of laughs on that. So, when I first met you, you were kind of still more active with the Chosen Ones. And you guys had some kind of definitely some hype and some buzz going. And then it kind of just, did the punk rock band thing and stopped.
Yeah. But we were getting some momentum and it was feeling really good. But personally, everyone in the band was kind of on different speeds and levels and places in life. And also, at that time, I would say that I was probably my most unstable mentally. So, lifestyle was a little crazy. But I'm actually really excited to say that all of us are still friends, and we're actually working together on some new music that is not going to be Chosen One stuff, but it's just going to be some music that's going to get released on other formats.
Okay, man. But yeah, so and we'll get into all the because I know you got a bunch of. As always, I know you got a bunch of things going on. Let's just talk a little bit about what got you to where you are. So, I mean, you picked up a P bass and did the high school band thing, and then what got you? You're into a lot of different types of music, but I know you from like the punk rock scenes and stuff. But
right.
What's kind of your introduction to punk rock, and how did you get involved kind of in that world?
Introduction probably comes from Clash CDs that Uncle sent me. when I was young. So that's probably like, Clash, Sex Pistols, that kind of stuff, Ramones. I think that's where I was able to separate what I was hearing on the radio and then the fact that there was other music. Because up until that point, the radio was pretty much the source. I liked oldie stations, classic rock stations. I think people that are probably younger than me don't realize that was like a really big deal. It was getting exposure to different genres and styles and, that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it seems like, I've done a few of these so far, and these podcasts, and a lot of guys, it always seems like there's an uncle or a cousin or an older brother or something that kind of, for lack of a better word, introduces and indoctrinates someone into the punk rock subculture or genre.
Yeah,
I didn't have that. I like I was saying, said before, I just happened to catch it on the local college radio station, and when I heard it, I was like, like everything, the world stopped, and I was like, what the fuck is this? This is.
How old were you?
I was in middle school. I was in 7th grade.
So what year is that? Not to put you on blast, but
no, it was like 84. Yeah, it was 84. Because then, and it was like I said, it was institutionalized. Came on the radio, and then then it was like Black Flag, like Black Coffee, and different things like that. I started hearing just on. It was UMass. Well, at the time, it was Southern Massachusetts University. Now it's UMass Dartmouth. They had a radio station, and they would play some punk rock. And then when I heard that, it just fucking blew my head. And I was like, all right, dude, this is whatever this is. It's super resonating, and I need to know more about it. And I remember being an idiot, like, whatever age you are in 7th grade, like, 12. And I remember going to the
birds and the bees era.
But I remember going to the local, there was a record store called Good Vibrations, not knowing shit. And I was like, do you guys have any records from like a type of music like called hardcore or like punk rock? And the dude's like, and then he showed me like a Black Flag record. He's like, but it was the fucking, like, I think it was the process of weeding out. And I was so.
That was the first introduction?
No, that was like I bought that and then was so bummed out because I didn't really get it. I was like, this isn't what that was on the radio, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then, with time you pick things up and learn it. And I didn't have anyone kind of showing me things. And then later down the road, I met people and kind of brought me on the way. Like obviously found like Dead Kennedys and Sex Pistols and all Black Flag.
Like Foundation.
Oh, Foundation, yeah. And then I remember there was really this dude, Steve Mercer. He was an old skinhead dude that I ended up meeting that was in the New Bedford area. And he brought me in, he was showing me like, it was weird because he was showing me like 7 Seconds and Negative Approach and all like the real shit. This was like a couple years later.
Yeah.
And then like, but he also like, oh, you got to listen to this Slayer record. And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, oh, wait, no, that actually is good. And he was like showing me. And then he was like hooking me up with like 7 inches and stuff. And I still have some of them to this day. And they were like OG, like Skins, Brains, and Guts, like first press. He's like, nice. No, you got to have this. You got to listen to this. But like.
That BYO, that record?
Yeah. But, and like that's when like it was cool because punk rock or hardcore was so small that the community was a lot tighter. If you met anybody that was like remotely interested, even if they were on like some other shit that kind of wasn't, but was closely related. If someone's like a Bauhaus person or something, you're like, all right, we're cool. Like, because
underground,
because it was not enough for you. You know what I mean? And so like this dude's like, no. And he was putting me on the right path. And he was giving me like all these, like super rare 7 inches. He's like, no, you got to have these. Cause this is what you got to listen to and understand and stuff. And I was like, fuck yeah, man.
Nice.
But anyway, that's
the other big thing too, which I can't not talk about, is discovering underground and stuff. I guess, for lack of a better word, we'll just say that's not on the radio, right, and not accessible because we didn't have YouTube. But skateboarding, because the mixture of different music with skateboarding, one, it puts you on to stuff that you probably wouldn't ordinarily hear, and two, all of a sudden it becomes a soundtrack to some of the most fun you're ever going to have in your life.
Yeah, man. And then especially back in the day, the old skate videos had a lot of punk rock shit in it.
Oh, yeah.
Or if like I learned a lot from Thrasher magazine, because Pusshead used to have a column called the Puss Zone, and he would always talk about new records, or once a year he would do his top 100 records and this and that. And I was like, fuck, I need to get all of these, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, those were two very combined kind of. There wasn't a lot of people at that time that were into punk rock and hardcore that really weren't skateboarding either, or vice versa. Like, you know, but there was factions, because, like, you know, like I remember we were always like the dudes that, like, I was always rocking like Zorlak boards or Skull Skates and stuff, and then there was the whole like kind of Powell Peralta kids that had that little skater haircut
From the Valley.
Yeah, they were
the ramp locals. They're the ramp locals.
Yeah, they were a little softer, but you know, whatever, dude. You know what I mean? I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
But-
you would definitely be a dagger for sure.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, man. So you had an uncle that kind of sent you some class.
Yeah, I had an
records?
uncle that worked for Columbia, and he would send me CDs, but I didn't even know what a CD was, you know. And I remember when we got the first CD player, it was like, what's this? Because I just had cassettes before that. So then also there was a thing called Columbia House and BMG, which everyone that is old enough to know what it is definitely got 11 CDs for like $5 and then just never paid the bill.
Yeah. Every motherfucker jacked the Columbia House.
So those catalogs would come to your house, and it was like, what's this? All right, whatever. I'm going to pick 11 things. So I picked,
You might be lucky if you could find a Ramones or a Clash record on it, but then you also ended up with a lot of AC/DC and
there's
Kiss.
a lot of good classics there.
So yeah, man. But what led to you like getting into shit like to the point where, you know, it became part of like not a career, but you started getting into bands that, you know, that kind of got you had a little bit of traction behind, or you started working for Agnostic Front doing like tour stuff, or
the AF merch thing was just by chance through a mutual friend, Amanda, from my area, Niagara Falls. She was doing, if my memory serves me correctly, she had an anti-racist action table at Showplace Theater, which was a pretty nice sized room for Buffalo. A lot of great bands, a lot of great shows went through there. But anyway, I ended up going out with her for a weekend with AF, and it was a lot of fun. But then, like a few months later, I went out and did a full tour, and then I just was working with them for a couple of years, and then pretty much on and off for a long time. And once in a while, I don't answer Roger's call, and then call him back 3 days later and tell him I love him. But that's a life-changing experience for me.
What years were that you were on tour with them?
I think the first one was 2002. It was the end of the Epitaph era. Gallo had just joined the band, and Coletti was still in the band, and it was just Stigma on guitar at that time. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, we did some great tours, and I got to see some great bands, and without a doubt, it's probably one of the best things easily I've ever done in my life. And just having that experience at that age, you know, before the internet, really. I mean, it was out, and you know, there was cell phones, but it wasn't smartphones, and it wasn't like it is now.
No. And that's when you still had to like book things by, you know, like if you had one of those little things that you could put so it made it sound like you were dropping quarters into the to the public payphones or whatever. I can't remember the name of those. We used to have those.
It was definitely the call me after 9 era.
Yeah. But you know, so going on the road there in the early 2000s, you know, I know like personally Roger and Vinny have told me some awesome road stories, like, you know, like that, you know, it's not my place to share, but like funny fucking tour stories. But you must have been exposed to some pretty funny shit before there was camera phones and everything to document it. Like,
thankfully, before there was all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was barely out of high school in Buffalo, exposed to my local scene, and maybe the cities within like a 4-hour drive, and Toronto would be like the thing. I had been to shows in New York City before because I have a lot of family in New York City, and I've seen shows at CB's and other venues and stuff. But I mean, that's life changing to go on a month-long tour with AF. And also some of the packages were out of control. Like we got to do, I think it was 3 weeks or maybe more, but it was like with the Damned and DI, and it was the era of the Misfits that was Jerry, Dez, and Marky Ramone. And it was like day one of that tour. Jerry only just came in with 2 tubs of whey protein and some whey detour, like a case of whey detour bars, and was like, we lift every day if you guys want to lift. And I think I was like 19 or 20. I was like, sure. And they literally like brought a gym in a fucking U-Haul truck to every show and set it up and would just start repping ridiculous weight. It was, and then it was like getting to see the Damned every night. It was great.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. And so you were still, like you said, you were still young. You were just right out of high school.
Yeah, I got to see the whole country with, with Stigma and Roger and Gallo and Coletti, and then as the lineups developed with everyone else too.
Sure,
But it was, dude. Those van rides for me, like just, it was awesome. It was unbelievable. It was so much fun.
Yeah, and you were doing merch.
Yeah, merch and a lot of driving.
Yeah, of course. But what's
But it was, it was a real education. I mean, those guys. I don't want to say that we take it for granted, but for people who are listening, maybe from the motorcycle world that aren't really familiar with the music world, like the amount that I learned from being out with AF, just about life in general, is those are gems that I treasure every day of my life, man. I can't big those guys up enough and give them enough love and respect, man.
No, and they're 2 of the best guys ever,
and Gallo too.
Everybody,
and I got love for
band.
Coletti, wherever he is, whatever he's doing. I wish him well.
Yeah, man, and they're still going fucking hard. Like Craig was on, you know what I mean, and he said they did 260 dates last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's fucking hard, dude. Like these dudes, they're not getting younger, and they're still fucking repping. And it's
nothing makes me happier than seeing those guys out there doing their thing, shining.
Oh fuck yeah, man!
It's awesome.
Did you see the documentary that Ian did?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What did you think about that?
Absolutely, I thought it was great. Yeah, I thought it was great. I think the situation he's in right now is horrible, and I wish that there was a way for him to get it back on the road that it was intended to go on. But with everything going on in the world right now, who knows? But I think overall he exceeded any expectations I had, and I think the way that the respect that the film was treated with was really admirable. It was very well done.
Sure, man. And Ian, Ian originally, me and him were going to do this together. He was going to do the production, but then he got so wrapped up like with just life, like so busy, like he got a ton of work.
When you say this, what do you mean? You mean the podcast?
This podcast,
oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay, cool.
He's the one who forced me into doing this.
I think it's a great idea. Well, let's big him up for the idea because I've been enjoying every episode, man.
Yeah, and it was just one of those things. We were going to do it together, and he was going to handle the production work, but he just got too busy. But yeah, man, he's going to come on, after this fucking... honestly, this fucking Corona shit is going to throw a little wrench in the works. I might have to do some over the phone and stuff. And I way prefer, the only one I've done over the phone is with that dude, Kevin Beener, and he called him from Vietnam. All right. So, I'm not going to Vietnam, but right now, to do a podcast,
People need you right now, man.
When I get all that sponsor money and I can travel, I'm just kidding.
Well, when you get an expense account, let me know. We'll charter the jet.
Yeah.
But people need you right now, man. Especially with everyone having a lot of free time on their hands. Things like this are going to be so important, man.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing is that there's over 900,000 podcasts out there. So there's no shortage of content. And, so there'll be plenty for people to do more than any time in history. It's an all right time to be stuck at home. But yeah, so, I was thinking that I might have to do some over the phone because, I know New York and some other places got curfews going on. We're still in the early stages of this shit. Like, no one knows what's going on. There's no curfews here yet, but we heard they're coming towards the end of the week.
I feel that we're in the eye of the storm. If you want to look at it like a hurricane, when you're in the middle of it, it's super calm and peaceful, a little too quiet kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And, but at the same time, I think, the only thing we really can do is just remain calm and hold down make sure that we're good, you know, and not get too crazy about everything.
No, and for the record, this is March 18th, so it probably is. I'm only saying that for posterity, for down the road when whatever happens. You know, there's a few things that could happen. This could blow over, and everyone would be like, "All right, well, you know, there was no overreaction. Everything worked," or there could be complete fucking overreaction, or everyone could die from this shit, or you know, it could be Mad Max times. I don't give a shit what the fuck happens, to be honest with you. I'm just along for the ride, and I'm gonna adapt and overcome to whatever, unless it takes me. You know what I mean? But
my mentality is that we're in it. Let's just ride it out and get done with it and keep moving, because I don't want to, wherever we're at right now, I don't want to be at any longer than we have to.
No, absolutely.
You know?
This is weird times. It's probably literally, you know, one of the weirdest times, like just time frames in general.
There's no precedent.
I've been on the earth now 48 years. Like, I've never experienced or seen anything like this. And I talked to my father, and he's like, not in his lifetime either. You know what I mean? Like, there's never been like, all right, you know, these industries are all going to shut down. Like, you can't open bars anymore. You can't open restaurants except, and it's different in every state. And that's what's weird is that, and people don't understand, in New England, like, states border each other. It's quicker for me to get to Rhode Island than it is to get to other parts of Massachusetts sometimes. You know what I mean? And you go through all these different laws, these different state laws, but like, you know, I don't know. There's just a lot of uncertainty going on right now. Like, you know,
I think part of that uncertainty and confusion is the fact that there's not a cohesive plan from the top. No. So like you said, we're not having a universal experience, but we're all affected. So if you're in Florida right now versus Massachusetts, what you're allowed to do can be drastically different, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's much going on in Florida. It's still live your everyday life. You know, but the problem is and it's like you said, there's not a lot of guidance coming from up top, but there's not a lot of clear information about what the fuck this is anyway. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to turn this whole podcast into a talk on that. It's just kind of a topic of.
Well, we're in it now. We're in the middle of it. Yeah, we might as well get in it.
But you know, it's like you hear from, and this is not. And I put out a Instagram post yesterday saying, look, if you're not a researcher or medical professional, and I know some people got pissed off because I didn't include like nurses in that.
Shout out to the nurses.
I'm not discounting anyone, but I'm talking about if you're not specifically, you know,
a healthcare professional,
not even a healthcare professional, because I'm going to say something that some people might not think is cool, but I spent a lot of time in a hospital, right? And I spent a lot of time doing HIV prevention research. I did a lot of time doing cancer prevention research. Your primary care doctor doesn't know shit about these specialized situations until he gets something sent to him or her from top down from researchers. So I don't care about what your primary doctor has to say. I want to know what what infectious disease researchers have to say, or you know, people that are epidemiologists that study these things specifically. I don't care what other health professionals have to say unless they've been specifically following what the experts in this field specifically have to say. Now, the problem is that there's so much conflicting information out there on what this fucking even is, or how serious it is, or who it's really affecting. It's fucking a clusterfuck all the way through. You know what I mean?
Well, I can kind of, first of all, why would you prerequisite your qualifications by saying it might not be cool? I think that's awesome, man.
Well, no, because no one wants to hear like, hey, your primary doctor might not know shit about this.
Well, no, it makes a lot of sense because we're in a unique situation which requires a specialist, and your primary doctor is not a specialist.
No.
So it's no fault to your primary.
And that's why when you go in and you have an issue, he refers you to a specialist, or she refers you to a specialist. Exactly. You know what I mean? Or they refer you.
And that's why a lot of people go in and see a nurse practitioner instead of waiting, if you're lucky enough to be able to go in, because that's the other thing that no one's really talking about is, you know, where the economy and the finances around this thing are clearly going to be more devastating than the loss of life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I'm not discounting the loss of life. So, and also everyone that's listening also understand that it is March 18th.
Yeah.
And every day we get new information.
Yeah.
So this is, as they say, a fluid situation, whatever fluid means.
Yeah. That's why I don't want to get too deep into it because we don't know what the hell is going to be 2 days from now. But, just some dumb things I'm seeing is that in some areas there's curfews, like 8 o'clock curfew. Now, I don't really agree with the concept of curfew in general, especially when the state starts mandating it. It sounds a little too martial law-y for me. But from a public health standpoint, I understand it and accept it. But what the fuck does an 8 p.m. curfew do? Like, what? You can go spread it all day, but you got to be in at 8 o'clock because you can't spread it after 8 at night. You can be exposed to it all day, but you can't be exposed to it at night. I understand what a 24-hour curfew would be, and it's a lockdown, and it's not cool, but I would understand that would have a lot more to do. I just haven't seen what the justifications are for an 8 p.m. curfew. You know what I mean?
What you're touching on has been kind of the ebb and flow issue that's been going back and forth in my mind. Obviously, public health is my number one concern. However, I can't not see that what's going on is getting very borderline, the beginning of a fascist-like takeover, okay? Because that element is there as well. I'm not ready to say that that's what's going on because right now I think like finger pointing it's not the time for that. We need to problem solve and we need to address our public health issue and make sure that as a country we minimize the loss of life. I mean, the people that are saying, oh, it's just the flu, more people die from this, more people die from that. Okay, but there's still going to be a lot of people that die. And this is proof, no matter what your political beliefs are, that if this thing was of a stronger category, we'd be fucked because we do not have the infrastructure to handle something like this.
No,
so
absolutely.
If anything, every American should just shut the fuck up and get their own house in order and pretend that this is bigger and look at it like a blessing in training. And let's figure out how to get people back to work. And if your meme brought up a point that I've been wanting to say about the people and their politics online, which I used to be guilty of, but now I just try to not engage at all in it. Most people, I don't want to fucking hear what they have to say about anything. And unfortunately, we all have Facebook now and we all have social media.
And Instagram that used to just be about pictures.
I know.
I don't need your diatribe about, you can't leave the house because you're going to infect this guy. Dude, you're a fucking tattoo artist. I don't give a shit what you have to say about this virus unless you are very, astute. Like, I'm not saying that there's not tattoo artists that can't read medical journals or the new research and say this is what's being reported, but most of you motherfuckers are just going off of memes or headlines or what some other motherfucker said. And guess what? I don't care what Fox News has to say. I don't care what MSNBC has to say. I care what professionals in the field have to say. So stop cluttering the fucking wavelength, just stop cluttering the social media, dude. Like,
I will never complain about you. I will never, ever, ever complain about your cat or food porn again.
No, I don't give a shit.
Bring it on. Let me see what you're eating for lunch.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what's cool. To me, that's what social media is about. It's just for me, like, if I'm not super informed on something, I'm not going to spout off about it and stop preaching to people, this is what you need to do because otherwise you're doing this and this. Like, you don't understand what the fuck is going on. No one understands what's going the fuck on. So let the experts talk and then take that in. But otherwise, you're just clogging up the system and people aren't going to get the right information because they're too busy listening to some fucking dude that's a fucking crane operator and, it doesn't know the slightest thing about infectious diseases or whatever. You know what I mean? And I'm not discounting anybody or saying people are fucking idiots, but you know what I mean? I'm just saying it might not be your field of expertise. So know your role and then just, take your place. You know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying. I think everything you just said makes a lot of sense and it speaks to a need for a universal trusted source amongst different cultures because it's clear that America is really, each state is like its own country.
Yeah.
And there's not one universal source for everyone because based upon where you are throughout the country, geographically, what you're going to look to for information is not going to be what someone else is going to look to.
No, but we do have things like Centers for Disease Control, the World Health Organization, and I get it because, I've been down millions of rabbit holes and then you get kind of the conspiracy people coming out or this and that. Look, no one has a more distrust of the government than me. There are some things, though, that are public health crises.
Agreed.
I don't know what is going on with this, so that's why I'm not going to get too far into it. But what I'm going to say is I'm not going to tell you what to do because I don't know what the fuck to do. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try and be smart about shit. You know what I mean? Like, the other night we were out at, the Murphy's Law show. We said, this is probably not a good idea, but we were saying we're going to support our brother, Jimmy, and see his show and go home. But, if this thing starts really popping off, I'll adhere to.
I have faith that the
curfew.
CDC knows what they're doing.
Yeah. The thing that what everyone should keep in mind, though, and I'm not going on a conspiracy tirade here, just from experience, anytime, and then even like Obama's guy there, what was his name? Rama?
I don't know.
Yeah. He said, never waste a good crisis. The fucking government will take advantage of a crisis and then use it to extort to get whatever powers
this whole buying
they
back
need.
the stock stuff is nonsense. And the corporate welfare is nonsense.
Absolutely.
Okay, maybe I'm just getting a vent off now, but that's some bullshit, man.
I can't speak to it. I didn't read about it, but I know that there was 1.4 trillion in economic stimulus aid put out there. Guess what?
It sounds like debt to me in the best case.
Yeah. You know what the government shouldn't be doing is spending 1.4 trillion to help businesses, you know what I mean? Or whatever, I don't know. Like, cause you know what? I own 2 businesses. I don't get any of that. You know what I mean? There's no one helping me. If I have to shut my doors, I am completely and utterly fucked. There's no aid for a middle-class guy that does his own business. Like, all I'm here for is literally before I see a penny from anything, I pay property tax, excise tax, corporate excise tax, corporate fees, this, that, I pay 4 different insurance companies just to be able to operate. I exist to keep all these other motherfuckers in business. And then maybe if there's a little morsel left over at the end of the day, I see a little bit.
I'm hearing that you need some representation for your taxation.
Yeah, and guess what? There's nobody on either party that represents the middle class anymore. I don't give a fuck what they say.
To all listeners out there, we need more representation and less taxation.
Absolutely.
You can quote Big Truth on that.
Yeah, no, I didn't say that. You said it, but
that's a
but
paraphrase quote. It's a paraphrase quote.
No, but there is not. And any motherfucker that grew up punk rock and now you're a pundit for the Democratic Party or for the Republican Party, fuck you because you turned your back and now you're a fucking party shill because both parties do not give a fuck. They put their own party interest in their own keeping themselves in power above anybody or above the country themselves. And all you Bernie Sanders motherfuckers, last time, this is not going to be a popular opinion. I am a registered independent, just so you know beforehand. I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat.
By the way, I did not ask. That's personal information.
No, but I don't care. Yeah, I'm just putting it out there. I choose to put it out there. I think if everyone registered independent and made these parties actually work for you, instead of just fucking voting R across the line or D across the line because that's your team, you know what I mean? Whatever. But I'm sorry, I'm getting all fired up over nothing here.
Let it out, man. Let it out.
But everyone's like, oh, Bernie this, Bernie that. He's the guy. He cares about it. If Bernie gave a fuck about this country the last time when he was running, all the shit he talked about Hillary, and then when his own party fucked him over, he bowed down and fucking licked her boots and did not say nothing. And he should have ran as an independent. Then I would have had 100% respect for him. Instead, he towed the party line and endorsed the Democratic candidate who he fucking hated, who fucked him over, and it was shown fucked him over, but he still towed the party line. And then 3 months later, mysteriously ended up buying a multi-million-dollar mansion in Vermont, but I'm not going to make any connections there. I'm just saying that's just something that happened, and you could look it up. You don't have to trust me. But you know what I mean? Like, all of these motherfuckers are fake. None of them represent you because you let them get away with so much shit just because you're going to always vote independent, because you're always going to vote Republican or Democrat based on, because you look at these things like fucking sports teams. You know what I mean? You got to look at, if you're a Republican, you got to be able to look at the Republican Party as critically as you look at the Democratic Party. If you're a Democrat or you lean more towards Democrat, you got to be able to look at that party just as critically as you look at the Republicans. It's wicked easy to slam Trump. You know what I mean? Because he's such a buffoon about things. You know what I mean? But you also got to give him credit when he does some of the right things, you know what I mean? But you won't do that. Like, everyone just wants to hate the other team. And, it's wicked easy if you're a Republican to slam Obama when he was in office. You know what I mean? But you don't give him credit for the things that he did right.
Well, I just think across the board, whatever your beliefs are, the culture needs to shift to less of the bullshit, and instead of the slamming from all sides.
Yeah.
Let's just show me what you're about.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a lot of Bernie's popularity is because the ideas that he talks about align with people's morals.
Yeah.
And people realize that they're getting fucked by the current system.
Yeah, but he's just a shill, and he's going to do the same shit. You know what I mean? All of them are going to do.
I think the truth of it is that none of them can come in and do whatever they want to do because the real issue is with what's going to go on in the Congress.
Yeah, well, or if you want to go down these rabbit holes, what corporations or banking interests kind of actually make things happen. A lot of presidents warned about the military and industrial complex and the central banking cartels. Not going to go into it any further than that. You can look in that way if you want to look.
I'm not into any of that stuff because I have a hard enough time just focusing on what I need to do every day.
No, I know.
But I will say this, man. There's no doubt that the amount of fuckery that's gone on in the last, 10 years in this country could put you down rabbit holes for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
I think everyone, no matter what you believe, no matter where your beliefs are, it may seem like you do it, but maybe everyone needs to, myself included, just spend most of your time trying not to be an asshole and minding your own fucking business.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, we'll get out of the political talk because I am not a political analyst by any means. I'm just going by what I've seen in life. And I don't want to be a hypocrite and start talking about shit I don't fully know about. Like, I'm not a Washington insider. But what I do absolutely 100% believe, though, is if more people registered independent, scared the shit out of these parties so that they became more responsible to be kind of accountable to the population.
I'm all for accountability.
Earn your vote.
I'm all for accountability.
The two-party stranglehold is what's fucking killing America, dude, because both parties fucking suck nowadays. And anytime either one of the parties has a good candidate, they do their fucking best to marginalize that person and make them look like a fucking weirdo or a crazy or an outcast. Because, like in the past, Ron Paul was a really fucking good 100% constitutional voting record candidate for the Republican Party. They made him look like a fucking crazy person. Tulsi Gabbard this time around was actually a really good candidate who had, I never agree with any of them 100%, had a lot of good things to say, is a fucking military, active military, has been into combat and whatever, and then they just make her look fucking crazy. Or Dennis Kucinich was actually pretty decent, and they made him look fucking crazy because it's good old boy networks on both sides. So
look, no, there's no one right and one wrong. The whole thing is fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think I don't know. I think a lot of people also need to realize that maybe there's a large sleeping giant population like myself where you go for you try to go for the least worst one.
Yeah, no.
Honestly, I really don't fucking care.
But that's been the way a lot of people have voted for a lot of years, and
for sure,
it's not getting us any better. You know what I mean? It's not getting us any better.
Well, so you're the scenario that you're envisioning to bring about the change is that the candidates themselves need to grow a pair or whatever the PC term is and go as independent and break away from the party.
No, I think the voting population should register as independent, scare the shit out of these parties, and then make them earn your vote. And then look at all the candidates with a critical eye and then vote for the one you think is best, regardless of what their party is. You might like someone from the Green Party or from the Libertarian Party or from something else better. Vote for them. Don't worry about, just voting along party lines. Because
why do you think the majority of people haven't done that? Is it just
brainwashing, dude?
Or are they naive? Do they not know that that's even an option?
I guess I don't know. I couldn't even begin to extrapolate. But all I can speak about is if you're a punk rock motherfucker, like, you have no excuse and you shouldn't be a party fucking pundit, because both of them fuck us, dude. And on top of it, like, let's wrap it up with this stuff. But
sure,
because no, this isn't a political talk show, and people are probably already fucking shutting off the radio. They're
yeah,
like,
we lost everyone.
I just wanted to hear Ruben talk about Agnostic Front tour stories. I didn't want to hear about this fucking. I didn't want to hear fucking Truth yelling at me or Ruben yelling at me. But honestly, all I'm saying is, as we go through these days where there's a lot of unknowns and there's a lot of fucking craziness, no one knows what this virus really is or how bad it really is. Because, you hear from people like, damn, like people in Europe are saying it's fucking crazy and we don't even know it's coming our way. Then we hear this expert say, well, it's really a flu and it's not going to be that much worse unless you have, some kind of respiratory issue or you're older or whatever. We don't really know what's going on. In the next week or so, we're going to see what's up. You know what I mean? Go through it. Be smart. Be vigilant. Protect yourself. Wash your ass, wash your hands, fucking whatever. Do the things, the basic precautions. Don't go out when you don't need to. But also watch the government and make sure they're not taking fucking, too many liberties with your liberties. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the curfew is where I start to go from prepared to paranoid. And the other thing too is people need to realize is that you may feel fine, but you may be carrying it and give it to someone who is in a high-risk population. So to the morons out there who are still partying at spring break on the beach, it's not about you. It's about the people whose lives you're going to fuck up,
No, it's true. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're feeling sick, don't go visit your grandmother. You know what I mean? But
stay away from young kids.
That's what I mean. So just be smart about shit. But also at the other thing, watch the government, watch what they're doing, because you never want to make the mistake of giving up liberty for the sense of security, because you won't ever have security. Like, you know what I mean? They just take shit. And if they set precedent, we're like, all right, now we can do this. Guess what? You're never gonna get your other rights back. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work that way unless you take it back. But most people are too soft nowadays to try and do that and step up. And the other thing we need is just more fucking accountability on behalf of our politicians. These motherfuckers used to get dragged and tarred through the streets by the population when they lied to us or fucked us. And now we just vote them in again. So smarten up.
Word.
All right. Now let's go back to punk rock and the regular kind of nomenclature of the podcast here.
The views expressed on the Big Truth podcast.
They're only mine. I can't speak for any guest or anybody. Like, I own whatever I say, and I fuck up a lot, and I'm going to change my mind on some things, and that's human, dude. Like, that's what we all do. You know what I mean?
That's a great point, because one of the things I was thinking about as I was driving over here was how a lot of people in our scene tend to not to want to allow someone to evolve and grow. They want
that's not even the scene. That's
life in general.
The world. You know what I mean? Like, you say one thing, now you're beholden to that for the rest of your life. Like,
right.
And what's crazy about that is with social media now, you can be an 18-year-old or a 15-year-old kid and say some dumb shit. The shit I said when I was 15, I wouldn't want that ever thrown back in my face. But now, guess what, motherfucker? You put that on Twitter, it's documented, and it's on there for the rest of your fucking life.
Rest of your life.
So be smart when you
yeah, it's crazy
when you post shit. But we're all we all got our opinions. We can all be like, I try not ever to hold something so solid that I can't be swayed if someone comes along with a better argument to show me.
Or you learn, you're around, you live and you learn, and you get new knowledge, and you have experiences, and your outlook on things change. And the fact of the matter is that, talking about accountability from politicians, it also seems that there's this like ultimate accountability that you don't have. You're not allowed to grow as a human anymore either.
No, yeah, and like, I'm not the same place I was 10 years ago or 20 years ago, 30 years, or where I'll be 10 years from now if I'm still alive. You know what I mean? Like, you're always, if you're not bettering yourself or like learning, then you're pretty stagnant, and you need to kind of do something about that. You know what I mean? Because you're just taking up space, man, and there's not a lot of space left. So fucking, go out there and fucking lick doorknobs and get the virus and fucking die, dude. Like, if you, just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sort of.
I'm waiting for the first virus song to really pop. There's got to be some trap song out there already,
yeah,
right?
Man, or like a like,
there's a dance hall rhythm out there called Virus already. It's probably like 3 of them.
Or like a D beat song, like a crust punk song. There's already one, yeah. Like, I posted up a joke thing the other day, like some plague doctors, and I said, all right, we can make a death metal band, or we can make a D beat band with this artwork. Who's in? You know what I mean? But so, more importantly, you're a guest of the show. Getting back to what's going on with you, man. So, what's going on? I know you were out here to do some dates with Darkbuster, and this is kind of what tied into everything here. Like, things got canceled because now you cannot assemble in groups of more than some places 10, some people 20, some places 25 people. So obviously that's not conducive to having a show unless you're doing a basement show with, you know what I mean? But so what's going on, man? What's going on with Darkbuster? Or the new Darkbuster, I'm sorry.
I can never remember what we're supposed to do. Well, we're supposed to play yesterday at House of Blues with Dropkicks, and obviously, as everyone knows, pretty much everything is postponed right now indefinitely until we get a grasp on the situation as a country. But essentially, I just kind of decided to stay put and see what happens and ride this thing out where I'm at here. And luckily, I have a job where I can work remotely, so I can still do what I need to do and stay with family and see what happens. So at least for a couple weeks, I'm going to stay here.
Sure, man. And I know musicians are doing different things to kind of make up for having to cancel shows, even though it's not their fault. Like Dropkicks did like a live cast last night. I didn't get to see it, but
yeah, they did a free live stream, which from what I understand was just going to be iPhone at the practice space kind of vibe. But
and it turned into like this big thing.
It turned into a really great production, considering that they did it in 48 hours. I can't remember the names of the companies off.
Only rivaled by the production of Mr. Lenny Lashley, who also did a live, sort of live.
Oh, he put you on blast two times.
Just kidding. Well, I didn't put him on blast 2 times. This is the first time I put him on blast. Oh, did I get him earlier?
Well, I just meant it was so impacted. It was like getting hit twice. Yeah,
I'm just playing.
There was a double
I'm just
biscuit.
playing Lenny. Lenny was one of my guests on here, and he's an old friend and
we love
brother.
Lenny. Everyone knows we love Lenny.
That's what we do. We bust balls. If we're not busting your balls out here, that means we're probably not very good friends.
Got to have thick skin.
Absolutely.
But they got two companies. I know Events United, I believe, and there was I want to say Pegasus, but I can't remember the name of it. Something like that. But another Boston company, some audio tech companies. They worked it out with the band, and it was really a nice production for people to do, and quite a lot of people signed on. And just from what I have seen, briefly looking at it this morning on social media, it looked like a lot of people genuinely that were tense and on edge about this situation, or maybe wanting to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. It was really kind of a cool thing to be able to offer the world during this time. And they do a lot of great stuff with their charities.
Sure.
And from everything that I saw online today, it looked like last night was a great success. And
cool.
They kind of set the precedent and raised the production bar, because I've seen, like you mentioned, Lenny's going to be having an upcoming From the Living Room concert. And I've seen a couple of these types of things that are different apps, and it's a Venmo kind of thing where people can send in on donations based, or they can purchase a ticket and it's limited. So it's a whole new lane for the music industry, and I think this is actually kind of an exciting time, because if you're creative and have some decent business skills, you might be able to do something cool. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And, just fucking crazy, dude. Like, thinking about St. Patrick's Day in Boston, where there's no venues open, no bars open. The St. Patrick's Day parade is closed. Like, shut down. There's no St. Patrick's Day parade in South Boston. Slane had to cancel his show. Oh, sorry, I shut my mic off instead of putting yours back on. There was no place for people to drink in Boston. And what a tragedy. I can't even believe that there hasn't been more like cases, today, like of like just people wilding out, like
looting.
Like there wasn't like pure chaos. And, that's just a kind of a shout out to the fine people of Boston that are left, not the gentrified areas of Boston, but shows you how much shit's changed. Because if they would have canceled, would have tried to cancel the parade in Southie fucking 15 years ago and shut bars down in Boston, there would have been fucking riots in the fucking city. And it also goes to show that people are taking things seriously with public health concerns and whatnot.
And that's a good thing to see.
Yeah.
But the whole thing's a bum out, because to play with them on St. Patrick's Day here across from Fenway. I mean, that's a killer show.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like Dropkicks Murphys couldn't play the fucking show in Boston.
It's crazy.
Fucking Slane couldn't do his show. There was like all avenues of music were just fucking shut. I just can't believe they shut bars down. Like my father owns a bar. That's how he survives. They shut his bar down till April 6th, and then they revisit it. Like all the restaurants out here, you can only order. You can't go to a restaurant anymore. Most are closed, but some you can do takeout orders. Just insanity, man. Like there's a lot of businesses that are going to get extremely fucked. So and but that goes to my only point I was trying to make earlier is like, where is the bailout for these fucking businesses that are going to lose income for 2, 3, 4 weeks or more? Because we don't know what's going to happen. They might extend all these fucking bans. Like this is like the season where like we actually make some of our money for that has to last us for the year. The spring, dude, like people are going to get their bikes ready. If everyone's out of work, no one's going to get their bike ready. If they make us shut down, like there's nothing we can do. Like, you know what I mean? No, look, where's our bailout? You're worried about bailing out fucking big companies in Wall Street. No one's worried about the middle class anymore. You know what I mean?
I definitely agree that there is ridiculous gaps of wealth and power in this country, but also none of us have a crystal ball.
No.
Okay. So at this point, what I'm curious, the question for you is, at what point does a restriction on freedom and liberty in the name of public health become something that you co-sign and think is a good idea? And at what point does it turn into where you feel that you're being infringed upon?
All right. So the only way I could really answer that right now, and the problem is with it, is it's always going to be gray and you're never going to know. And
I want to prerequisite by saying that this is as of today. So if you're hearing this in a month or a year or 5 years.
If we're in martial law 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. All right. We reserve the right to update and amend our opinions.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Or 2 weeks from now, everything might have blown over and everything's back to normal. I don't know. But to me, if it's 100% in the interest of public health and what's best for the people, I'm 100% for it. If it's just fucking sneaky, fucking shitty government control, 100% you should fucking take up arms against those motherfuckers.
And at what point in the threshold scale of that description are we now?
I don't know. That's the problem. That is 100% the problem. That's why no one knows what really to do, because there's so much fucking noise out there. Like, that's why I made that post the other day. I'm like, dude, if this isn't your lane, don't talk. Like, let people talk that know what's going on and repost what they're saying. Don't go off your. And I get, like the thing is, most of these people are coming from a good place when they say that. Like, they don't want people to get fucked up. They don't want people to get sick. I get that. But you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So let the people that know what they're talking about talk and repost that. Because otherwise you're just fucking clouding everyone and getting everyone worked up and fucking freaking everybody out and blah, blah, blah. So that was my only thing with that post. But, so to me, I don't know what's going on because there's no reliable media in this country anymore. They're all bought and paid for on the mainstream level. And not on the mainstream level, you have to compete with, you got fucking people that think the earth is fucking flat. You know what I mean?
All around the world, people think the earth is flat.
You know what I'm saying? And then you got people, so like anytime, and I've gone down a million conspiracy rabbit holes and I think there's some cadence to some things and there's some things that are absolutely ridiculous.
And most of it's a waste of time.
And all
that time and energy could be put towards improving your life, your family's life, doing some self-work. That's just my opinion. I'm not trying to disrespect anyone, but if you don't believe me, try it for 1 month.
Yeah, no.
See if you don't get more done.
But my whole thing was just, if it is going to be in the benefit of humanity, our country, our friends, our people to not go out for a while, absolutely. Will we know? But like the thing is after that's over and the government keeps trying to do it for different things, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, that's when you should be like, and that's what the Second Amendment is. I don't give a shit what anyone says. It's not hunting. it's so to oppose fucking a tyrannical government, whether it's your own government or another government. Like foreign or domestic, enemies foreign or domestic. Like that's your fucking job as a citizen. And if you don't want to do it, then fucking move, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like get the fuck out. Like,
I think one thing that you touched upon earlier, which would be a nice segue back to the music side of things, is that, which is odd because I thought you were going to be the one that's going to have to reorientate me out of
well, you get me all fired up, Ruben.
I'm just asking you questions. I haven't seen you in a while. We're catching up now.
But you get me fired up and I'm getting drunk.
What's this episode sponsored by? What are you sipping on there, bro?
Well, it is not sponsored by, but it's fueled by Frangelico.
Soon to be Frangelico at us.
I don't see Frangelico sponsoring a podcast.
Are we not their demographics?
I don't think so. But,
okay.
You know, but I got too drunk with Seamus on Tito's, which is my favorite all-time drink. It's the nectar of the gods squeezed from Zeus's nipple, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Tito's makes me think of Pete Sosa.
Oh, Pete Sosa's not a bad guy to think about. He's
Absolutely.
a good friend and a good brother.
Absolutely.
Anyway, dude, this is about you, and I know we've been kind of rambling and going on about. It's hard not to get into this shit right now. It's important.
No.
Shit.
Let's talk. I wasn't minimalizing or downplaying it.
No.
We were segueing back into the punk rock, and I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, no. and, you know, before we get into anything, look, there's a lot of people whose lives or livelihood is dependent on the entertainment industry, and if there's any artists or bands or venues or, you know, whatever you can do to support these things. Because if shit gets shut down for a month, some of the venues you like, they might not be there when shit blows over, because not everyone has like 2 months of income put away to keep paying. Just because the venue's not open doesn't mean that the mortgage stops, that, you know, utility bills stop, that insurance bills stop. So there's still a lot of overhead going on in a lot of these industries. The restaurants you like, they still got to pay their rent or their mortgage. They still got to pay all those bills. The club or the bar that you go to still has to pay all those. The bands, you know, even on a lesser extent, like the Mama Tried motorcycle show got postponed. I know a lot of guys that had bikes in that show that drove from around the country to get their bikes there, set up their merch booths, and then they're stuck with all this merch. So whatever lane you roll in, whether it's motorcycles or music or whatever, support the people that do things that you love and respect. You know, buy a t-shirt, buy a CD, buy a record, buy a part off a parts manufacturer or a motorcycle guide. You know, do some shit, like, especially if you're one of these motherfuckers that works for the state and you got a 3-week vacation paid, buy some shit to support people that aren't as lucky as you. And that's the end of my rant on that.
I hear you. I think we're not even anywhere near the end phase of discovering what type of economic and what effect on industry this is going to have. Obviously, right now, anyone in the service industry, any independent small business, anyone who's basically not, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're in a place right now where you're lucky enough where shit ain't shut down and it's about to be, you'll know a little bit ahead of time. Make sure you go and tip your favorite bartender mad money if you can. You know, whatever you can tip them, because they might go a month or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever they're going through. They might go all that time without income, like, you know, or you know, any of the people we talk about. There's a restaurant you go to, tip your waiter or waitress that you like, you know, tip them a lot. You know what I mean? Help motherfuckers out, because government ain't really going to help us. We have to help each other.
Also, across the board, we just got to big up all the nurses and firemen and EMT people and all the teachers out there, all the people that do the real work of this country that don't get the necessary credit that they deserve. They're mostly overworked and underpaid and undervalued. And a lot of them, especially the teachers, they're expected to be the parent and the teacher. You know?
Yeah, no, I know.
It's the values of this country are just, hopefully there can be a positive spin on this situation, and this will shock people to kind of reevaluate where their morals are.
Absolutely, or just to prioritize what's important and what's not. And, you know, all these motherfuckers, if you're hoarding toilet paper, fucking relax. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many options. You know, leave some shit for other people that, you know, need to buy stuff.
But it is a good idea to be prepared, always.
Oh, always.
And the thing about the hand sanitizer, it's crazy. We want everyone to have hand sanitizer, because the more people that get to use it, the more we can combat the virus.
Oh
right?
no, absolutely. But if you're buying fucking 2 pallets of it and keep it in your
Trying to make money.
in your basement,
Selling it on Amazon for $100 a bottle.
Yeah, or if you're on the corner trying to fucking flip it, you're an asshole.
I agree.
But anyway, now we're getting down some rabbit holes. But yeah, no, something you said is important. Like, hopefully this gives us a chance to kind of reevaluate things and reprioritize things and give people a little reset button and come back out of this a little bit better for it. And you know, not everyone's gonna get out. So you know what I mean? Like, rest in peace to those people that ain't gonna make it.
But the other thing is that
but everyone dies, dude. So no one gets out alive. So whatever.
And we're also not in this alone, right? Like this is not a thing that's affecting a small percentage of the population. It's affecting everyone, for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know if the virus will, but the things that have been mandated.
The economic impacts is to me what is most on my mind.
The economic and the absolutely, and also the kind of restrictive, whatever, you know what I mean. I don't know what you would even call it, but definitely this is something I've never seen.
Overstep of authority.
I don't. Yeah, but the thing is, if it's a valid overstep, I understand it. If it's an overstep, just a fucking overstep, fuck you.
And the last thing I'll say about it is that what makes us so unique is that we don't have clearly defined boundaries for those. No, and that's another problem. But what happens is that people are too distracted with other things, man. Like, it's crazy to be middle class right now. Like, most families, it's both the husband and the wife, or both partners, or whatever you want to say, are working 1 or 2 jobs. Like, it's fucking nuts now, dude. Like the back of the middle class person is being literally fucking broken right now, dude. Like, and I feel like professions where people that worked in them typically would have more of a security 15, 20 years ago. Now they're desperate paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, man.
You
know what I mean? It's fucking nuts, dude. But this is getting a whole fucking weird fucking heavy podcast.
I'm following you, man.
I'm so used to just talking about like music and motorcycles and fucking fun shit. But let's steer it back to that, dude. So I just feel like it's just every time.
I tell them why I should never be on a motorcycle ever again in my entire life?
Because you've already crashed 3 motorcycles?
Shout out to my boy Jay, who never gave me any grief and always laughed every time it happened.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So, I mean, we know a little bit about like Chosen Ones. We know you talked about a little about Darkbuster. What do you got going on now? Like, I know I know you also got a sound system. I know you do some management. You got your fingers in all kinds of things, man. What do you got going on right now? Well, I know besides playing bass in Darkbuster.
Yeah, the DB thing is once in a while. It's not full time. It's just a nice thing that we get to do when we're lucky enough to get the opportunity to do it. It's a ton of fun, and
sure.
But yeah, I have a bunch of creative projects going right now. They range across the board. One thing that I'm real excited about is that I'm working with a great team that I put together to release a photo book of my friend Mark Miller's work. He's a guy, he's from Queens, but he's been in Buffalo for over 25 years. And he's been consistently taking photographs of shows the whole time. So we're working on a project to release a nice photo book of his work, and we're hoping to have that out. Well, we were hoping to have that out for the holidays this year. Of course, everything's up in the air right now. But as of now, I see no reason why we're not going to hit that mark.
Yeah, and that's what I went to say earlier. Like, St. Patrick's Day being canceled in Boston is pretty much like Christmas being canceled everywhere else in the country. But bringing it back, that was just an aside that I forgot to say. So these are pictures from shows around the Buffalo area.
Yeah, predominantly hardcore, and he's got a lot of great early years stuff from some bands, and I think people who attended shows in that era, and younger people who have a genuine interest in the history of the culture are going to get a real kick out of this. Because Buffalo had a really it's always been in waves, but there's been some really great eras. What
I think is something that's interesting and really fucking cool is that, like, when I got into punk rock and hardcore, right, like, mid 80s, like, say it was 84, I was in 7th grade, like, things like the Sex Pistols seem so old, right? But that was literally like 5-6 years earlier, right?
Yeah.
There was no history. The history was so short. Now punk rock or hardcore or whatever has been around, like 30 something years. So now there's people who have established careers and are professionals in whatever they've done. Like that's what I'm saying. For like almost 40 years, people have grown up in it, and it's got such a history now. People that were taking shows and like taking pictures at shows in the early 80s or mid 80s or late 80s, early 90s, they have this whole fucking repository of knowledge that and history that goes so far back that, when I was a kid, that things that were only 4 or 5 years old seemed like those were ancient. And now you got this like 40 fucking year history of shit, and it's fucking crazy because now like old punk rock is like literally like when we were kids, like the classic rock station, like doo-wop shit like was to us. You know what I mean?
I love doo-wop, and shout out to Oldies 104 in Buffalo, New York. That was so pivotal in my life. But talking about what you were mentioning, one of the things that I think is amazing about this book is that a lot of the early years photos that he has from some bands, the interactions with the crowds, especially in the 90s, people were not as conditioned to having their picture taken.
Sure.
So it seems like a more natural capture.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, it wasn't, they didn't do it with a selfie stick, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And going back even earlier, like someone that you're related to, not to bring this up if you don't want to, but Glenn Friedman was always one of my photographic heroes because he captured. Glenn Friedman was in every fucking cool place, in every cool scene, at the coolest fucking time, whether it was skateboarding or punk rock or fucking hip hop. That dude was taking he was the guy taking the pictures in the coolest fucking places literally if you could isolate the coolest time and the coolest places in the coolest scenes, like he was fucking there, man. You know what I mean? And that was like late 70s, early 80s and shit. You know what I mean?
Well, he's the OG and he's the biggest homie. I mean, the thing about that is that I didn't even realize we were related until after I saw the book. Because my grandmother's maiden name was Friedman.
Okay.
And I didn't meet him until way later in life. I had already been working for AF and kind of found punk and hardcore before.
Just funny how your family, you're on this trajectory. And
it's crazy because I already had knowledge of him before. And then my mom had the book, and I saw the book at my house at a real young age. I didn't really understand what it was because I think I was like, I don't know. I had never seen, I didn't know what that culture was. I don't remember how old I was, but I was young.
Sure.
And then a couple of years later, I saw it. A buddy of mine had it because we used to skate together. And I saw the book, and I was like, "Oh, I'm related to that dude," and he didn't believe me. And I also didn't really understand.
What was it? The Fuck You Heroes?
Yeah, the original. Yeah, the original. Yeah. But he's got some great stuff that came out recently.
That motherfucker took so many pictures back then. Yeah. And he's still releasing fucking books of new shit that has never been seen.
Oh man,
think about the record covers that dude shot. Never mind,
you can't even compare him to anybody because he's his own thing. Yeah, you know what I mean.
I would love to talk to him just to find out how were you at all these fucking places and all these different genres at just the fucking right time, dude. It's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just an aside. And I didn't mean to blow up your spot if you didn't want people to know that.
No, but I mean, it's not like a thing I talk about every day. But it's cool. No. Yeah, no, he's his own thing, man. He's a legend. He's a pioneer.
Yeah.
I don't really even know of anyone that's ever crossed worlds like that. And been so, I don't even want to say successful, but I want to say more.
I would say instrumental, to be honest.
Important for the culture, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? A guiding force.
He was taking pictures of Dogtown and Z-Boys. He was taking pictures of record covers for Public Enemy, and Beastie Boys and fucking, and then he was also doing punk rock shit, taking pictures for. Wasn't he Black Flag's manager or something for a while or some crazy
suicidal
shit?
Tendencies.
Suicidal.
But also, he's also been a champion for the vegan lifestyle since as far back as he goes.
Before it was
before it was a thing. He was one of the real early people to really push the vegan thing, which
Yeah.
I think is cool. And he never wavered from it.
Sure.
Because a lot of people use issues to kind of
Advance something
as
with
an
themselves.
opportunistic type of thing. But
Yeah.
one thing about him I can say 100% is that he sticks to his guns and he does not give a fuck, and that's admirable. I may not agree with everything, but
Sure.
I can respect that he doesn't waver.
Yeah,
You know?
if
He whether it's going to hurt him or help him, he does what he thinks is the move to do. You know.
yeah, absolutely, and he stands behind it and
Yeah.
he sticks with it.
It's very respectable.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I always have respect for people like that, like I'm not a vegan, but people that are doing the vegan thing because it makes sense for them and they stand behind it. Hey, good for you, man. Like, you know what I mean? It's cool.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing it just because you think it's the cool, trendy thing to do, you just go fuck yourself. I hope you choke on a fucking carrot, right? But you know what I mean? Like, there's people that, like you said, that do things for opportunistic reasons, people that do things because it's something that they actually believe in. And so who am I to say, fuck that vegan shit? Like, if someone that's truly into it, like, you know what I mean? I can say fuck you to someone that's just doing it as a springboard or something, or to be cool or whatever. Like, yeah, it's fucking stupid, you know what I mean? But
Right.
whatever.
But the photo book is going to come we're going to do a limited pre-order.
Now, was it certain venues in that time, or was it just the whole kind of Buffalo area? And just so people know, like, you're in Austin, Texas now, but you're originally from Buffalo. Yeah.
Born and raised in Buffalo, New York, but I've been out in Austin for the last couple of years. The books, Mark did a fanzine, which I'm sure you know what they are, but some people may not remember.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
fanzines were pretty awesome. And still are. I know that there's some still out there. I'm just not as familiar with them.
Sure.
Matter of fact, man, I had a whole trunk full of zines. I lost them to a basement flood.
Oh, that's the worst.
Power went out, no sub pump.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was my whole collection of zines from day one lost.
Some archival history lost it.
Yeah.
Now,
Anyway,
anyone who has a basement and keeps all this shit in a basement, put it on a table.
minimum pallets.
At the minimum. Stack 3 pallets up and put it on that.
Yeah.
I know so many people that lost such rad shit to fucking basement floods, especially in the Northeast. I know everywhere's not the same. I know you don't got to worry about it if you're in Tucson, Arizona as much. But out here, if you got cool shit, keep it off the fucking ground.
And insure it. If you have nice guitars, if you have a lot of nice guitars, if you have more than a lot of nice guitars, spend a little money and insure it. That was not directed at anyone. It was a general cryptic message, and if anyone wants to decipher it, take it personally. It's free advice. How about that? But what I was saying is that Mark, the photographer, Mark Miller, he used to do a zine called "Hello, My Name Is," and he would call it HMNI, and we got all the zines, and we're going to do the highest quality scans, and we're going to make a small companion for a limited bonus for the pre-order of the book.
Oh yeah,
we're
man.
hoping to have it out around Thanksgiving, and a lot of the venues from that time were places like Mercury Theater, Showplace, Continental, the roller rink, a bunch of VFW halls. I mean, there was a lot of great stuff. He's got some of. I was just looking at it the other day because he had to scan everything that was an actual photograph, and then he has digital era stuff. So we put it all on a hard drive, and we've been going through it and figuring out what photos we're going to use. But there's some early era Hatebreed photos. It's before. I want to say it's before the first album came out. I'm pretty sure it is. At what point before? I'd have to look at the photographs again, but it's definitely before Satisfaction came out. And it's just like looking at those pictures.
Yeah, dudes are like kids and shit.
Yeah, and everyone in that photograph, for the most part, one cool thing about Buffalo, the majority of them at some point still go to some show.
Okay, like the faces you see in the crowd, or people in the bands.
A lot of people are going to see photos of themselves from maybe 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Well, that's the thing too, is that we're still involved in this. I know a lot of people that are still involved in punk and hardcore that have been forever, and for people that really came up in it and experienced it and took it for what it was, like it wasn't like a quick, like a lot of music is trendy or whatever. Like I know a lot of people that I came up with in the middle to late 80s that are still fucking around. You know what I mean? And the
lifers,
yeah, and more than any other like genre, I think. You know what I mean? Like, and You know, like
My friend Jay used to refer to people that basically were always going to be into the culture as lifers. So I like to say that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And just real quick before I forget, if anybody wants to give Mark a follow, his Instagram is HMNI Photo, HMNIPHOTO, and that's Mark Miller's Instagram. And the book HMNI, along with a companion fanzine, will be coming out around Thanksgiving this year. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
I didn't catch what your involvement is. Are you kind of co-producing it, or
I'm basically
curating it, or
yeah, I guess I'm the publisher.
Okay.
But I'm essentially just putting it out as a project because I think it's something that's really awesome. I want to archive the history. I want to show his work, and I think everyone involved with that scene and just everyone in the culture in general. I think his work has a lot to contribute.
So, obviously you mentioned Hatebreed. So anyone that's into like classic hardcore, there's not going to there'll be a lot of obviously Buffalo bands, but it sounds like you have a lot of bands that just ended up playing Buffalo that might be bigger bands now, or bands that are still around, or other bands.
Yeah, there's a lot of touring bands as well as bands from Buffalo.
Okay.
Just to big up some of the great Buffalo bands. We got all the Vogel bands, Slugfest, Despair, Buried Alive. We got bands like Against All Hope, Snapcase. He's got some early Every Time I Die. He has some It Dies Today. There's he's one of the early awesome straight edge skateboard youth crew bands called Envy. I want to shout out Larry. There's no shortage of great era history there.
Yeah, Buffalo and beyond bands, just anyone passing through in that time frame.
Yeah,
Fuck
all
yeah,
the
man.
classics too.
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. So it seems like there's a lot more of that stuff coming out, and it seems awesome. Like everything that comes out seems pretty fucking good. Like there was all those things from like New Jersey that just came out. Then there's the New York books and stuff. There needs to be a good Boston book. Hint, someone do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's been Boston movies, like like the Boston hardcore movies and stuff, but we need a good Boston book.
Well, it's funny you say that, man.
Page and Phil and Flash or whatever.
There's a guy in Buffalo that used to own a club that a lot of the classic New York City bands played at, and my friend Doug from Watchman Studios, he told me that there is footage, 3-angle camera footage from the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, they were talking like Judge, Sick of It All, Biohazard, AF, Gorilla Biscuits, like these kinds of bands.
Sure.
From 3-angle footage at that time. And a project that I wanted to do was try to get that footage to the guy Sonny, who does all the great video editing stuff, and kind of digitize it, because from what I understand, the longer that it sits, the more corroded and the quality loss.
Videotape can degrade with time if it's on tape.
If anybody has any cool footage out there that's VHS or VHS-C or whatever the format is, if you have anything that's analog, for lack of a better term, and you want it digitized, get a hold of me, because that might be a cool project to work on.
Absolutely. And I know that from the past, I used to have some old videotapes, like of old bands and stuff, and there's different services you can send it to that will digitize it for you, but it's to different degrees of quality, and obviously different degrees of quality and care go into it. If you give it to someone like you that's going to give a fuck, you're going to kind of make sure it gets the best quality that it can.
Right.
If you give it to some general service, they're just going to fucking process it like anything else and whatever.
Well, that's the thing about this footage from Buffalo, is that it's 3 angles, so it's not just a question of running one camera. Someone
that can look like a pretty decent production.
Exactly. Man. So we would need to find someone that can not only transfer it to digital, but that knows how to edit it and present it in a way that is the top quality.
And you have access to all that.
The Rolodex is pretty big. I'm sure we can find the right guy or lady for the job.
Yeah, absolutely. You should hit Ian up about that. That's a conversation off camera, off mic. But what else is going on, man? Like I know you had a little list of things that you have going on.
Well, yeah. So one of the other things going on is that I just started working with this cool new Oi band from Buffalo called The Elite, and they have one record that's available right now. It's their first 7-inch. It's on Contra Records, and
Contra's been going hard for a while now with new Oi or street punk stuff.
They're definitely doing great things for the genre. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Absolutely. So their record's going to be coming out again, with everything going on, don't quote me on the shipping, but I do know that it's available right now. You can check out their social media, and there's a link in the bio where you can order the record from Contra, and it's a split release with Insurgents, which is a Canadian-based punk and oi label too. So if you head over to Elite USA 13 on Instagram, you can find the link for their debut record, and that's Elite USA 13 on Instagram. They were also scheduled to play the Friday night of Midwest Live and Loud in Chicago, which is a great festival. Yeah. But again, everything is subject to current events, right?
Yeah, man. And so what's your role with them? You're managing them?
Yeah, they came out and we did some shows, Lenny and I, with them recently. We had a 5-show run, which actually was just in time because it was the week before all this started. And I really got a great vibe from them, and I like what they're doing. They're straight from the heart, and their drummer is an old friend of mine that I've known for a long time. And they're honestly the best band I've heard come out of my hometown, and I can't remember how long. So I really wanted to, I feel like I'm in a position to help them do some things, and I'd like to do that.
Absolutely, man. Cool. You doing anything DJ wise or music wise yourself? Like
music wise myself, I'm just trying to get out of my own head and finish a bunch of projects that I have started. But I have some stuff going with Lenny. I have
outside of the Darkbuster stuff. Or?
Yeah. We actually, our brother Rico asked us to write and record for a 7-inch he's going to put out in his label. I think the last record he did was with Monty from Simmerip. So Lenny and I have one really cool cover version we're doing, and then Lenny came up with the rough draft bones of the original tune we're going to do. So that's one project, and then Mackie and I.
What's that called?
It's a work in progress right now. Yeah, everything is tentative. But that was basically Rico commissioned it for his Boss Hooligan label.
Sure.
So
out of Kansas City.
Exactly. Yeah, and if you're in Kansas City, check out the Boss Hooligan Vintage Shop as soon as it's okay and safe for everyone to do that.
Sure. Yeah.
Which sounds very weird to say.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, so
ton of cool shit in there, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure you get some good barbecue too if you're in Kansas City. If you're not vegan, I'm sure there's vegan barbecue out there.
Shout out to Gates. Shout out to Gates and Panic and Mickey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, Mackie and I did 2 days of a reggae session that...
Mackie from Chromax.
Yeah. So that's stuff that I'd like to really finish up this year. I kind of have been dragging on it because sometimes work gets in the way. You don't have time to do things. But I've been educating myself with the recording software and getting better at doing a lot of it on my own. And before I was really dependent upon having an engineer or having to be at a studio to get anything done because I didn't really know how to do it myself. And with someone like Mackie, where I feel so honored and blessed to be able to have done that session, I'll wait however long I need to do to make sure that it's done the proper quality, because it was just such a privilege and an honor to play with him. And I want to make sure that comes out. But I'm getting closer to finishing that up.
He's one of the most iconic drummers in punk rock or hardcore, man.
He's the coolest, man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and all around fucking awesome dude, nice guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, completely humble and quiet and...
amazing stories.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And he lived through some of the best times, man, and saw some of the raddest shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's another one that you can't really compare him to anyone because he's so special and unique. He's a category of his own, you know.
Yeah.
I'm still always hunting dub plates out there, and that's kind of like my crack addiction is the dub plates. So any sounds out there that are running high quality wave dubs, no MP3s, high quality waves, please get at me because I definitely want to get some dub plates.
All right, well, you tell someone how to get in touch with you then. I mean, I'm not wrapping up, but I'm just saying you just, you just brought that up.
You can hit me at my email is Ruben the TM, RUBEN THETM @gmail.com. That's the best way to get a hold of me.
Okay. TM stands for tour manager for those.
Actually, it does in most cases, but in my case, it doesn't. In my case, it stands for team manager.
Team manager. Okay. Take it easy, buddy.
I don't want to go on the road. I want to stay at home.
Yeah, I get you. Are you done? Are you done doing any doing that type of stuff? Doing
No, I
road
wouldn't.
work?
I wouldn't say I'm done with it. I would say that it has to be the right type of thing.
Sure.
For quality, healthy balance of life. I definitely love it.
You're done right now anyway, just because you have no choice. But
we can prerequisite the rest of this if you want to just say that we know that current events are going to dictate our lives.
I get it. Yeah.
I had so much fun on this last run we did with Lenny and the Elite that it kind of reignited me wanting to go out and play more. But it has to. It's for me at this point in my life. It has to be fun.
Sure, man. I get it. I mean. I don't want to say no one, but hardly anyone's getting rich off this.
No.
So to do it, it needs to be worthwhile in a different way. Like it needs to be fun or like rewarding somehow because otherwise it's just a stress.
It's got to fill the creative void, man, or fill your spiritual void. You have to be loving what you're doing to do it. That's not to say that you can't be successful, but it's not like it was years ago where you could earn a lot more money,
Yeah, I mean it's different times, and it's, attendance isn't what it used to be, and more people are living in virtual life than actual life, and there's all kinds of things going on that you're competing with nowadays, and so, but yeah, man, what else is going on, man? I know you have a ton of shit going on. We were talking earlier. I don't know. Is there anything else? I feel like there was more things. Oh no, we talked about the book. We talked about the reggae stuff. We talked about the Elite.
Yeah, I'm also I'm working with my friend Benny, who was in Chosen Ones with me, and he is from Arkansas originally. We played together in Hudson Falcons when we were real young. We did a lot of shows together.
Hudson Falcons had a lot of.
Yeah, they did a lot of shows.
A lot of steam behind it. Yeah.
So that was happening kind of simultaneously with the AF thing at an early age. So I was pretty much always on the road, and it was amazing. But Benny's from Arkansas, and I'm scared to put a label on it, but I don't know if you would call it alt country or Americana. But he has like a heavy Steve Earle influence, and I'm helping him work on his first debut solo record, and he started pre-production for that, and that process is probably going to take, theoretically it was going to take through the rest of the summer, and then we were looking at having his first debut full length out for the holidays as well this year. But again, everything is pending, and Benny's such a talent, man, and like so many people I know that are ultra creative or just brilliant, they just need help in some other areas to get the job done, so that's something else I've been helping him out working with.
Sure. Now, is there a label you're working with on that, or are you going to put it out, or is it
not yet? And it's funny because
are you getting something so that you can go shop it?
The thing is that we're kind of back at square one and looking at what the best strategy for 2020 is.
Sure.
I'm not 100% sure on what that is as far as him, because we're still right now just kind of exploring his sound. This is going to be probably easily the most amount of pre-production I've ever been involved with on a record. So the focus right now has really just been finding keys and tunings and figuring out what songs we want to pursue more and what songs was like, okay, this was a good demo, but we don't hear it for the album. And I think once we have a solid pre-production of all the songs, then we're going to start to think about what the best approach is as far as what to do
it's got to be
world. So Lawrence, I'm going to hit you up for some advice, bro. Just clear your whole schedule.
Well, it's going to be kind of weird too, because you're used to working in like a punk rock hardcore world or other things like that, and then trying to reach out into a whole different genre of music. That's a whole different way of doing things, or a whole different crew of contacts that you're going to have to make.
It's definitely another world, but the thing is too is that there's a lot of people from the punk and even hardcore world, I guess you'd say, that have kind of transitioned into different more adult lanes. There's a lot of one-person singer-songwriter people out there. I mean, look what Lenny was able to do with his stuff, all the way up to when Brian Fallon goes out from Gaslight solo. A lot of people do the solo acoustic thing, and the one thing that's pretty awesome about it is the overhead for a musician is low. you could literally do it in an economy rental. Or if you had a touring team of 3 people in a minivan, the overhead's real low.
Sure.
But it's honestly, I'm not really looking at it at that big grandiose level. It's more been just a lot of fun for Benny and I to reconnect and hang out more and work on projects. And so the focus right now is just making the best music we can make. And once that's done, we'll figure out what to do. And maybe it means handing it off to someone that is more of a pro in that lane. But
sure,
we'll assess that when we get there.
Are you playing on it too, or are you just more producing? Or?
Yeah, more of a producer role, more of a back and forth creative role with Benny and helping him keep organized of everything and figure out different tunings. And it's kind of a new hat for me to wear, which is a lot of fun.
Sure. Yeah, man. So you're a producer, you're a manager, you're book publisher, artist, musician.
Or you could say I'm confused. I have OCD, ADD.
Well, I mean, I think that's like a lot of us, man, that are involved in shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're always moving around. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to stay in one thing. Like, you know what I mean? I'm always bouncing around doing this fucking podcast. I'm running a motorcycle business. I'm back there making oil tanks or doing some fabrication on a bike, or I'm fucking removing a tattoo or recording with this band or whatever.
I don't really think about it too much. I just, if I have multiple interests, and if something is creative and I'm having a good time with it and it's fun and it's rewarding and I'm enjoying what we're doing, I just go with it. I don't have like some set out plan as far as, okay, I'm going to get in this lane of something. I'm going to get in. I just kind of, I try to collaborate with people that I think are good people and our morals are aligned and we have similar interests in the culture, and because it's like you said, it's no one's getting rich off this stuff anymore. So
yeah,
it's got to be for the love of it.
Absolutely. What else, man? I know we talked about a lot. I know like this has been a weird week. Like we connected earlier. We were originally going to record this earlier in the week, and then other people were stranded, and we ended up just going out and hanging out and stuff. So we talked about so much stuff that we should have waited for in this, but what else haven't we talked about that you think's important, man? We talked a little bit about your background, a little bit about what's going on right now. What did we miss, man? Like, tell me what the best road story is from your days with the Agnostic Front.
Oh, I can't tell you the best one.
Well, the best one. Tell me the best one you can tell me.
Oh my God.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I know. I would hate it if someone did that to me.
Yeah, no, so many laughs. I could tell you a memory that's coming to my mind right now is during, I think it was 2006 or 2007. I'd have to Google it, but during the blackout in New York City, we drove from Pittsburgh, and I drove the van into the New York City when it was completely blacked out. And we were there for a couple of days when there was no power, and that was some wild style stuff. It was a pretty fun, exciting time.
Did it get thrown back? Was it like a throwback to like old New York? Because by then New York had changed a little. It wasn't fully what it is now.
Sure. Well, it definitely wasn't business as usual. I mean, you've driven into New York City, I'm sure, countless times. When you drive in and it's dark, it's a very I'm waiting for Snake Plissken to come out.
Yeah. Man.
There was definitely it was wild. Yeah, it was wild.
Absolutely. I remember that going down, but I wasn't in New York or anywhere near New York I was here, but I wasn't like, that wasn't a time that she's like, maybe it's a good time to go into the city.
Yeah.
No. So obviously, like, shows and shit got canceled, right? Like, or postponed.
Well, as I remember, it was the end of a run, or we were in between stuff.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of regional runs where because Roger at the time was in New York, and so that would be the base where we'd meet up and such, and then start the tour, or stay in between legs if we're going to do Canada or something like that. But yeah, spending time with Stigma in Little Italy was, oh man, like looking back on it now, I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world.
No.
Some of the best times of my life, man.
That Mott Street apartment is pretty fucking legendary.
Oh my God. The best. And just eating in the neighborhood and literally being so young and walking to CB's with those guys and them playing the show is like, what? This is crazy. It's mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah,
And
so it's cool that they took you in, you being so young, just on the strength of like them knowing, you having a mutual friend, and then you.
It was, and also good vibes,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a great education, and one thing I learned was to take the business seriously. And all bands out there should take it. However, whatever your numbers are, however low, however high, take it seriously. Be organized. Be on top of your shit.
Yeah, be professional.
Be professional.
There's nothing worse than like when bands like show up late or supposed to have sound check and they're loading in 5 minutes before they're supposed to go on or this and that. No one gives a fuck about your bullshit, dude. Like, relax and do what you're supposed to do. Yeah,
it was a great education on how to do stuff. And then also...
And I know Roger runs a pretty tight ship. Like, there's not going to be any slacking on those tours. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's a lot of fun, but
there was a lot of fun at that time. Absolutely, there was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, what else, man? What else? I mean, we talked about Corona. We beat that. We
it's not Cinco de Mayo yet.
We got into a little bit of the, some political stuff, which is. Always dangerous, a dangerous lane to walk on this type of shit.
Are we going to get do you allow comments on this? Are people going to chime in and tell us how?
I don't know, dude. Like, dude, this is so, like, literally, I hit record, it's done.
Yeah.
I post it.
Yeah.
I try not to reach it. Like, I don't think there's, like, it's really fucking crazy because it's got a lot of downloads. And every episode ends up having a lot of downloads, like a decent amount where rate's pretty high in the scheme of like podcasts. But what I think is there's so many podcasts out there, but a lot of them are kind of hard to listen to or not well done. And I'm not saying this one is, by any means.
I think it is. I've listened to I would say I've listened to at least 75% of the episodes, but I think it's well done.
I try, I research the equipment and put a significant investment in trying to get good stuff to do it before I did it because I don't want to put something out and it sounds like shit. Like the worst thing to me in the world is when a podcast comes out and I see it and there's like a guest on it that I really want to hear. And then I download it and I take the time to load it up and put it on. I'm most of the time I'm listening to these things when I'm driving around in my car. I'm not watching it on YouTube or any of that shit. And so, it needs to sound fairly decent because I'm listening to it while I'm driving. And all these motherfuckers, they get these people and it's shit I really want to hear, like literally really want to hear. And then it sounds like it was recorded in a fucking wind tunnel. Like, and someone's talking through like a fucking fart filter on a fucking microphone, dude. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I can't even listen to this. Like, there's been so many times where I've downloaded podcasts and I get like 30 seconds in and I can't do it. Like, and it's no disrespect to anybody, but, put a little bit of time and effort and think about things before you do it because it's a disrespect to you, to what you're doing and to your guests that took the time out of their day to be on it. So, when I did this, I kind of researched equipment. I waited. It took me a long time to get started because I was saving up to buy the stuff and research and get the right things. And again, I know I've shouted them out, but again, shout out to Josh over at Revival Motoring, who has a podcast and a magazine that he really took the time to tell me about. He was, ahead of me in getting a podcast out and took the time to tell me about like what the good equipment was and where I should be looking and what types of things or whatever, because I didn't want to put something out that sounded like bullshit and have my name attached to it.
You're a master of your craft, bro. I mean, look around. The evidence is in all these amazing bikes, and there's a reason why we're in this shop. So there's no doubt that you have the pro tools for the job, but I know you're a humble cat, but don't discount the fact that one of the reasons that this is such a cool thing is because the head that's on your shoulders. A lot of people out there maybe don't understand if they're not particularly good at something, they should find something else. And I think that's true in the podcast world where there's probably a lot of people that maybe are.
I didn't go like I'm not saying if I'm good or bad at it.
I'm saying you're good at it.
I didn't go into it with that.
I would tell you if you were bad at it. I'm saying you're good at it.
I know. And I appreciate it. And that's the good thing is that I got a circle close enough around me where if this really sucked, people would be like, dude, you didn't fucking step it up.
The brutal truth.
Get out. Yeah, exactly.
The blood, the honor, the truth.
Some people need that, you know what I mean? But, I just happened to, I just wanted to do it. And like I said, Ian had planted the seed in for a while. We were supposed to do it together, but he got so busy with commercial work and trying to make up for the income that he lost when that company fucked him on all the money for the movie. And that's something he can talk about when he comes on. I don't want to get into his business too much, but, and there was a lot of things going on, so I had to kind of get it going on my own. So, that's what it is. But I don't even know how the fuck we got on this fucking path.
That's okay. So how about this? Let's flip it real quick.
Yeah,
I've been listening to the majority of the episodes, and one of the things I think is great is that although I know some of the guests pretty well, I'm always I was hearing new things. And I was hearing new stories and learning new things about people that I thought that I had heard all the stories. So that was really cool. But I wanted to ask you is, with your involvement in music, I know you've been in a bunch of bands throughout the years. Did you ever step side into the promoter side and do bookings? Something tells me that you dabbled in that at one point.
Yes. Yeah. No, but not to any. I did it out of necessity because there was no one else doing it.
Like a book your own fucking life kind of thing?
Yeah, because all right, so when we were younger in the mid to late 80s, New Bedford was where we grew up, and it wasn't like a really big scene. And so one of the things was we used to play, like my old band would play shows, and we were one of the only bands around here, and we used to play, like Boston and Providence a lot, but we really identified with like a lot of the Boston guys and hung out there and played a lot there more. So we were always known as like a Boston hardcore band, even though we were from like a half hour south of Boston. But that's how scenes were too. Like a lot of the bands were from all over the state. And then
now during that time, was it? Were the venues like VFW halls and DIY spots, or were they more bars and clubs? Or
outside of Boston, it was more VFW type things. In Boston, it was clubs, right? So if you wanted to play clubs, like you had to go into Boston or Providence, right?
So how young were you when you did your first show?
Like played my first show?
Yeah.
So our old band, Intent to Injure, right? It was late 80s. Originally, it started. The band was called The Undecided, and then it changed to Intent to Injure. I don't know what our first show was, but our first show that we played that was out of the, like a friend's house or a party or something. We played with a band called NPD, which was Non-Police Dictatorship, which was Jeff and those guys from the Bruisers before the Bruisers existed.
Oh shit!
And we
Shout out to Jeff in Chicago.
Yeah,
now.
man, absolutely. We played there, and it was in a church basement.
How old were you?
Like 15.
Okay, so did you ever have this issue?
But our first club show, I was 16. And by that time, I think it was ITI. It might have still been The Other Side, but we played with Slapshot and Uppercut at the Old Rat.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And I was 16, and I still remember it. You know what I mean? It's fucking crazy.
Did you ever have the experience where they didn't want to let you in even though you were playing because you were underage?
Oh, yeah. But not the Rat, they didn't give a shit. Because they were matinees, all ages. But what would happen is we had to take the bus in. At that time, like, no one had a car or money. We were still too young to own a car.
Yeah.
And we would take the bus in and just bring like heads and fucking guitars and stuff, and then take from the bus to the T and take the subway into the show and shit. But
the first show that my first band was supposed to play in a club, they wouldn't let me in. And right then I had just the natural skills of negotiation, and I was able to work it out. But
absolutely.
It was like really a thing. They were not going to let me in, and there was no internet. And at that time you basically had to call in. It was the Continental, and my boy Jesse was working there, who's still my boy today. And he's a Buffalo legend. So big up to Jesse. So I got us booked, but they had never seen us.
Sure, yeah.
I didn't tell them that we were all underage and still in high school. So when we showed up, it was like they weren't going to let us in at all. Like bouncer wasn't having it,
Yeah. These fucking kids show up. And
yeah.
Well, that's what was weird was back then too. Like, I remember we played a show at ABC No Rio.
We got to play though, just for the record. We got to play. I became cool with the bouncer. Was lifting weights with him. Shout out to Elmore. And then I became cool with the manager Jesse, and he's still my boy to this day.
Absolutely.
And we had a good show. And you want to talk about something that might get us canceled now? Might as well. We used to cover YDL, the song that was on the Rev Comp, Blue Pride.
Yeah.
And
my Youth Defense League.
Yeah, for those who don't know, my boy Jay, who was working sound. He used to work sound there and at the Continental and at Club Atomic. And this is on like Chippewa, which would be like 6th Street or Lansdowne or whatever. It's just mayhem, right?
Yeah.
So he would have bands going with like 15 minutes in between, and he would ride his BMX from one, mix the band, ride his BMX to the other, mix the band, right? So he would work both clubs.
Yeah. He was a hustler.
He
sound hustler.
He wasn't feeling the YDL because because of their shout outs in the credits or whatever. And so he edited us out, and he muted the board, and then he scolded us. He mixed his own mic from the sound booth in. And shout out to JS, my boy. We just did some shows with his band Pure Heel, and I think he was supposed to be out with Terror, but I'm not sure if that tour got affected.
I think pretty much
everything is affected, but I'm just not sure like who got hit when.
Yeah,
because I don't think everyone stopped at the same time.
No. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But, yeah, dude. So earlier, and I wanted to get back to this, but you did. We kind of just progressed, and I don't.
You know what? This has been a fluid podcast.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
the audience is going to stay with us. They have more retention than us.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is that isn't this a fucking weird world, right? Where like a lot of people have like they say 8-second attention spans, but podcasts that are like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, people listen to it. Like I listen to the whole episode. I'm not talking about mine, but like when other podcasts I listen to, like I like the long form shit because you really get to hear a guest and learn a lot more about them. And I find it interesting if it's a good podcast. But
well, you get to peel back the layers. You get more substance. You just have a more in depth and more details.
Sure, but I feel like everyone's like, oh, everyone's fucking idiotic now, and they only got 8-second fucking attention spans. But like, no, like if you have something that's engaging, you will keep someone longer and keep someone interested longer. And the proof's in the pudding with these podcasts because a lot of the big ones are all 2-3 hours, you know what I mean? And that goes very far against the 8-second rule there, you know what I mean?
Well, I think it gives the host and the guest a chance to kind of vibe and get in a flow and explore different topics.
Absolutely. Like this one went all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
But to bring it back to something you mentioned earlier that I didn't mean to gloss over, but we got into so much shit in the meantime. You said when you were on one of the early tours with Agnostic Front, you guys played with one of the iterations of the Misfits, and I don't know why we didn't get into this, but like we must have just jammed onto something else really quick. But you also brought up like they brought their own fucking weightlifting fucking setup with them, and you started lifting with Jerry and some of those guys. Like,
yeah, they had a guy named Tank. They had a U-Haul box truck, and it was like a gym. It was all.
It was like built into the truck.
No. Like they had like a bench, and they had weights that you could adjust that would go up to like 150, and they had a pull down machine. They had about 5 or 6 big pieces of equipment and a bunch of dumbbells and a Roman chair. And
so that came on tour with
every
them as well,
single day,
as well as the merch and as well as the equipment and the band members. They had a special weightlifting truck that went with them.
If my memory serves me correctly, the truck may have been the gym and some other equipment, but there was a lot of shit rolling on that tour because that was Fiend Fest, and he had Dez and Marky Ramone, who needs no introduction, and then the Damned, AF did the whole thing, DI, band from Japan called Balzac, and the Dickies played too. Okay, so that was a big touring. Sure. I think that was for.
I don't remember that one at all. Did it come in the Northeast?
Jersey. I know we did Asbury Park because I have a photograph of Roger and Freddie doing a song together during AF.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I got to digitize that sometime. Get it scanned.
I'm sure Freddie would be stoked to see that.
Yeah, so that was it was awesome because I was young and. These guys were all monsters, and I learned a lot of great weightlifting tips from those guys.
Who was in the Misfits at the time?
So it was Jerry Only, Dez Cadena from Black Flag, and Marky Ramone.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was right around.
And there was a 3-piece?
It was a 3-piece, yeah.
I don't remember that iteration at all.
Okay, they put out a record called 1950s Project.
Okay.
And I actually really thought it was cool. I'm not going to get into the whole, is it the Misfits, is it not the Misfits? No. It's either music you like or you don't like, and I don't care what anyone else thinks.
So Doyle wasn't in it at the time?
No. So the 1950s Project thing.
Well, you say lifting weights and Misfits, I figured Doyle's involved somehow, you know what I mean?
No. The 1950s thing was their tribute to like classic era stuff, like they did like Del Shannon, Runaway, and so they had an EP out that was that lineup,
which predates, just for the record, and I'm not stirring any shit up here, but it predates the Danzig singing Elvis record, which is coming out this year.
Way predates it.
Yeah, okay.
Way predates it. But the other thing about that is that they were still doing the back catalog.
Yeah.
It wasn't like just those songs, so it was still like the greatest hits. And I can't remember if, it was cool. And just to see the Damned every night was amazing. I love the Damned, so that was mind blowing. Sure. And to be able to lift weights and hang out with AF, and so at the merch table, you're talking to everybody and you're meeting everybody at the show.
No, of course, yeah.
So it's a great experience.
Now, who was weightlifting? Was it just you and the Misfits, or was like all the other bands getting in on it?
No, definitely not. It was pretty much like Jerry, the dude Tank. They had a couple other cats in their road crew that were lifting, and me.
Yeah,
but I do.
None of the AF guys were
I think Gallo got it in a few days. Coletti, no. Roger, no. Stigma, no. But yeah, when we were in Philly, we did the show at the Trocadero, which I don't think is doing shows anymore. But Jerry just set the bench up like out on the sidewalk, and it was a busy sidewalk. Like there's a lot of people walking by. And he starts repping the big selected weights. I think they were like 150 or maybe, they were definitely over 125. I know that. And some of the fellas from the neighborhood start coming over to see what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, it's like these two gigantic Philly like monster bodybuilder dudes just look at Jerry, and Jerry's like, "What's up, dudes? You want to lift?" and they get on and they start repping out sets, like, and so like all these dudes from the neighborhood just start working out with Jerry, and I was like, "This is I'm like 20 years old. This is amazing." You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fucking hysterical, man.
Yeah, I've never had jock mentality, but I've always liked working out.
No. There's a difference between jock mentality and just lifting. Like,
sure,
I don't have jock mentality at all. I lift 5 days a week, right?
Yeah, that's actually why I was playing hockey, and everyone on the team is there's a couple cool dudes, but most people were pretty much dicks. I didn't want to hang out with them, so it's like I stopped doing that and started playing in bands.
Yeah, man.
But then like a couple of years later, I started lifting and getting back into athletics and working out and things.
I think I lift more as a matter of I need it for absolute stress reduction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And,
well, nothing better than hitting the heavy bag for that, man.
Yeah, no, and I know that you were doing like a lot of boxing stuff for a while. Are you still training with boxing or anything?
Well, I still love to hit the heavy bag. I still love to hit the focus mitts, but I don't fight or compete anymore. And I had a few fights as an amateur through USA Men's Boxing. My coach and still friend and family to this day, Don Patterson, out of the Northwest Buffalo Community Center. And that gym was definitely one of the most special places in my life. Like my experience coming up fighting as an amateur out of that gym is definitely in different ways as equal importance to me as my years with AF,
Sure.
And there was a lot of talent. Boxing out of there kind of humbled my ego.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody wanted to be professional except for me.
Yeah. And they say that about a lot of the fighting sports. It's people are pretty cool usually that are involved in them because you get humbled pretty regularly no matter who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also gave me a lot of exposure to cultures and music and just ways of thinking that I wouldn't be normally exposed to. Without a doubt, there's at that time there was not really anyone from the punk rock world in the boxing gym.
Sure, yeah. Now it's like all, or not all, but like,
now everyone's an MMA warrior.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they were actually MMA warriors before MMA really existed. They just did it in the pit and with karate moves and fucking back.
In
kicks and
I never liked the karate era. I was never into the crowd killing thing. I think it's being a dick. I'm all about dancing hard, but I don't think like intentionally trying to hurt anybody is a cool thing to do. But in the last couple of years, I started cheating on boxing with jiu-jitsu, and that's been a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
But it's very different. I still think
did you take that up in Austin? Did you start, or were you doing that still when you were still here before you moved?
Believe it or not, the first time I ever tried it was at Hoya's B&B Roll.
Okay.
Now, I had done some stuff similar, just kind of roughhousing around when I was younger.
So people just know that's a benefit, like a kind of a benefit type of thing that our friend Hoya does at the Black and Blue Bowl.
Shout out to Hoya Rock.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm wearing his shirt right now. He's not going to see it, but I got to take a picture.
This is a audio only podcast, my friend. And, all right, we're going to take a picture for
And shout out to the B&B Roll. That's a jiu-jitsu event that raises money for a children's charity. It's at Clockwork Jiu-Jitsu. It was awesome. I had never experienced jiu-jitsu like that in person. There's so many high-level people there. Our boy Danny was there. Danny Damage out in San Francisco area. Jared from BJJ United was there. There was a lot of talents, and I'm so new in that world. I don't even really know who everybody is.
Sure,
but as far as the stress reduction, man, I still think an hour with your headphones on the heavy bag, and I'm a completely different person.
Yeah. There's a heavy bag at my gym, but you know what I still have at my house? I have one of those, I just forgot the name of it. It's not a heavy bag, but it's like a lot of the martial arts places use it. It's the one that's
a bob.
I have a bob.
I just picture you stabbing it or blowtorching it.
Yeah, no. I just practice, combinations and whatnot. I got to pull that back out though, because it's gotten like my garage is a little full, so I got to pull that back out. But I haven't thought about it in a little while. But you fill the base with water or sand, and you can practice good combinations because it's a human form, so you can practice.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've never actually done a workout on them, but I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, next time you're down, we'll pull it out and you can do it. You can fuck around with it. It's cool because it's different than a heavy bag because you're actually like aiming for the chin or whatever you're trying to do. You know what I mean?
Less about power, more about accuracy.
Accuracy, you can work on your accuracy. And that's what a lot of people don't understand is that you don't have to be a fucking heavy hitter, dude. You just have to know where to put the fucking hit. You know what I mean? And its technique is just as important as power.
The worst shots that I ever took were the ones I didn't see coming, so I couldn't defend them.
Yeah.
And at that point, it doesn't have to be, legendary power, because if it's connecting clean with medium power, but you don't see it coming and you can't intelligently defend against it, it could still knock you out.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of the guys.
Have you ever been knocked out?
One time, yeah. It was during sparring. What were you talking about?
Like unconscious.
But are you talking about in the gym
anywhere,
or outside the gym?
Anywhere.
Oh, only once, and it was. I've been knocked down outside.
Yeah.
When I got jumped, but never out unconscious. But in the gym one time.
Yeah.
And it was a straight right hand, and I didn't see it coming, and it put me on my ass. And I give my buddy, his name is Eric. He's a super heavyweight, AKA Skittles. And it was a monster shot. But to be fair, a lot of the guys I was sparring back then were beasts.
Yeah.
My boy Excel, yesterday was his birthday. We call him B. Bernard. Happy birthday. He went on to have a lot of professional fights and go over to Europe and go to Puerto Rico. And he had an international professional experience. And also one of the other guys who was an amateur at the time was Lionel Thompson, who has the crispest, that's not even a word.
No, it makes sense.
The most crisp, razor sharp jab and left hook I've ever felt in my life. And it wasn't like the power of a super heavyweight, because he was a light heavyweight, but it was so fast and it was so sharp that it was very, very challenging. And he went on to be a professional. He had a lot of success in the amateurs, and he went on to be Golden Glove champion, and he wanted to be professional. And for the last, I want to say like 8-9 years, he's been out in Vegas, and he's signed with Mayweather Promotions, and he's a part of the money team in their management. And the thing that people don't realize about professional fighting is that people get mangled.
Yeah,
I got to quote my trainer on that. So I got to big up and love to Don, because the fact of the matter is that everyone has the ability to voice their opinion online, but 95% of the people that spew nonsense wouldn't be able to last 30 seconds in a ring with somebody.
No,
and it's like I give respect to everybody that's ever competed at a one-on-one combat sport, because there's no coming up. You know what I mean? It's life and death. You got to sign your life and death away.
No, absolutely.
And what I realized with my amateur fights is that my true passion is music. So if you're not in it 100% because you have no other options with the boxing world, it's not for you.
No, that's how you get hurt or get really fucked up,
permanently damaged.
But yeah, you touched on something that I think we've talked about on other podcasts here, is that 90% of the people that are talking garbage on online, no matter what, you know, in 90% of them like wouldn't say that to you face to face, and you know, wouldn't last long if it got down to it, whether it's against a trained fighter or just a street fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's a different world now. Like, I don't get it. There's so much weirdness with that, all that cyberbully shit. I don't understand it because that didn't exist when we were younger. But I can see how it could be devastating to somebody that's young and coming up
Sure.
and isn't confident or doesn't know themselves that well yet or whatever. You know what I mean?
Not only is it a different world, but as we age and we grow and we hopefully evolve for the better, we see it differently. And the actions that we choose to take are different. So, you know, I can pretty much guarantee that the way that I would have reacted to a scenario 15 years ago is completely different than today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You
No,
know?
exactly. No, I get that, you know.
But I hear you with the cyberbullying, and as a lot of my friends have kids, the one concern I have and I see is the addiction to the screen. Because really, it's everybody now. It's not just kids. It's not like I'm not going to pretend like we're not on our phones an awful lot because we are. But
you know, I am. But you know, literally 90% of it is business. Like I'm checking. I got to
That's
check.
true.
I
And
gotta
that's
check
unavoidable
emails.
now.
No, that's just the way it is. You know, unfortunately, you know, we're in a world now where someone emails you, and if you don't respond in fucking 12.2 minutes, they're like, "Oh, what the fuck?" You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, sorry, I got other shit I'm going on. I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Yeah.
But you know, just to wrap up what we were talking about there with the cyberbullying and stuff, like in this world, like, and most people I think that are listening to this, I don't think I got a very young demographic here, but don't say anything online that you wouldn't say someone right to their fucking face. Just a very simple thing to live by. That would be, you know, something to do. One thing that I did want to talk to you about that we talked about offline the other day, and that I think is pretty epic and could have been so fucking legendary, is that I think
this would be a cool thing to maybe go out on a nice note here with this subject.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we talked about a lot of different crazy stuff today, but getting back into music and you know doing things in music projects. You know, unfortunately, and rest in peace to Bushwick Bill, but you did hook up with him, and you were probably one of the last people to work with him on any new music. I know you didn't get anything fully recorded or anything, but what was going on with that, and how the fuck did you end up working on a project with Bushwick Bill? And if you don't know Bushwick Bill was the small person, I guess is the proper language nowadays, in the legendary gangster rap group from Houston, Texas, the Ghetto Boys, Fifth Ward, Texas. And how the hell did you guys meet up? Because there was one night where me and KO and Jared went to a Ghetto Boy show at the Middle East in Boston, and it was fucking nuts. Like I remember them from the late '80s. I saw them once, probably in the early '90s or mid '90s, actually with Public Enemy and Naughty by Nature. What a weird fucking show. But we saw them. We saw them just a few years ago at the Middle East in Boston, and we ended up hanging out with Scarface all night, just drinking with Scarface. He was actually a really cool dude. It's weird when you meet people like that because he's like an old punk rock head. He was like...
Scarface is cool. And actually, for my birthday, Abe and Pub, they took me and we went out to see Scarface play at Antone's in Austin, which Antone's is a great venue. I go to see all the Foundation, living blues and soul legends, Booker T, I've seen so many shows there that are great. William Bell.
You must have a lot of cool shit come through Austin.
Oh, yeah. But we went to see Scarface, and he had a live band with him.
Yeah.
And he's jamming out with the guitar. But
well, in the middle of the Ghetto Boy set, like Willie D and Bushwick Bill got off the stage, and Scarface brought his acoustic out, and he did Boston. He did a cover of Boston, More Than a Feeling.
Yeah.
And then he did Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here.
Well, you know what? First thing I want to do is say... rest in peace to the legend Bushwick Bill, and love to his family, and love to the whole Rap-A-Lot movement. Rap-A-Lot to me is, even though it's a hip hop street label, one of the most punk rock things to ever come out. I mean, if everyone
in that hip hop industry, for sure,
for sure, straight rebel, straight against the grain. And Jay Prince has a book out called Art and Science of Respect, and I actually have the audio version. I was listening to it on the recent trip when we were driving from Reggie's in Chicago. We were going to Pittsburgh, and I started getting into it, and it was amazing. So if people are out there that are looking to get to a good audiobook, The Art and Science of Respect by Jay Prince, who, if you don't know, is the founder of Rap-A-Lot and really the creator of the Ghetto Boys and the whole Fifth Ward Houston sound. But the Bushwick Bill thing was a good example of all the other projects that I'm doing where I don't go looking for anything. So I just kind of live my life and
see what finds you.
Yeah, see what people I click with, see who I'm having a good time with, and essentially what happened was we have a mutual friend. I got to shout out my boy Dustin in Buffalo, and I was at a party that my friend Bob and Steph do, which is a Ronald McDonald House benefit called May the 4th Be With Y'all. And it's a
shout out to Texas Bob.
Shout out to Texas Bob.
He's originally a Boston guy.
Shout out to Steph and shout out to May the 4th.
Well, when I met him, he was a Boston guy. He wasn't, but we still called him Texas Bob.
Yeah, I just went out for my first. Oh, he's gonna kill me because I don't know the right word for it. Crawfish broil at his place, and it was really it was a good time. But anyway, I was at their party, and Bill was there, and our friend linked us, and we ended up smoking together, and we started talking music. We started talking reggae, and I played him some of my dub plates that I was working on. I think he was kind of taken aback by my knowledge of reggae, and we started just kind of making a connection, hanging out. And then he started telling me about this album he's working on and his Fuck Cancer tour. And basically what happened is we exchanged numbers, we linked up, and then we were supposed to go to the studio because he had wanted me to work on a reggae and a dancehall song for him to do the instrumental over. One was going to be Gangster's Anthem, and then the other one was going to be an original that I had wrote for him. So about like 3 days later, we're supposed to go to the studio, and in typical hip hop thing, one time turned to 2 hours later, 2 hours later, 4 hours later. Eventually, I think the next day, he just came over to my place, and I ran a bunch of rhythms I had. It was Cinco de Mayo. We were hanging out on my porch, having a good time. We hung out. At that time, I didn't have the equipment and the knowledge to really get a usable track, so we kind of were just free-forming.
Yeah, were you like demoing?
Yeah, it's essentially just vibing and running the rhythm and him trying some different things. But unfortunately, what had happened is that he got sick on my porch, and his manager Jack and friend and staff guy Aaron, they took him to urgent care, and then he ended up going back to Houston, and the rest is history. But it was a very unplanned, spur of the moment, spontaneous, creative thing, and I do wish that we could have gotten to finish it, but at the same time, it was just nice to have the experience and spend some time with him because he was a really cool guy, man. He was really, at least the side that I saw.
Yeah,
I know his history or whatever, but to me, he was so laid back and very passionate about what he was doing, very sincere, true love of music, big reggae head. Cracking jokes. It was a really special thing.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You're probably one of the last people he collaborated with musically, but unfortunately before his untimely demise. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
that's fucking crazy.
Yeah. So now I'm just not sure what to do. But as of now, it's just kind of there with the other projects.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So I feel like we covered a lot, man. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you think's important?
I just want to put a general message out there for everyone to keep a cool head and focus on what they can do to improve themselves rather than what other people should be doing. And Lenny and I are working on a video that we shot in Buffalo. We did a guerrilla, again, spur of the moment thing. It was supposed to be a photo shoot, turned into a video, and we should have that out hopefully in about a month.
For Darkbuster?
No, that's for his Gang of One solo.
Okay.
That's good. That's for the most recent record that came out on Pirates Press. All are welcome. Shout out to Pirates Press. Shout out to our brother Ricky. Shout out to Skippy and the whole team at Pirates Press. But I'm looking forward to that because that was a guerrilla thing, and I'm going to work on doing my first edit for a video.
Okay.
Lenny and I are collaborating together.
Sure.
But that's like another element of the culture that we're working on. I'm excited about.
What are you gonna edit it with?
I I have the Apple program.
Yeah.
So that's a nice one.
Wait, iMovie?
I think is it Final Cut?
Oh, well, there's Final Cut, Final Cut Pro, there's Adobe Premiere.
Just for full transparency, I definitely have like 2 or 3 buddies that are tech guys that are going to help me do the actual editing.
Yeah, okay.
I'm kind of just going to do the storyboarding and, hey, I like this shot and kind of choreograph.
You're going to direct it.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I don't have the professional skills to do the actual editing. I just kind of want to guide the vision of it with Len together and coordinate the project. But
I understand
it's a lot of fun. And now that we're quarantined, it can all be done from the laptop with. Dude, thank God I brought my studio headphones with me. Lenny gave me a bass, and I have about maybe like 5 more days of real work for my normal job, and then I can just be quarantined for a little while with the music. So I might just get off the grid for a week or so.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. And you know and then you'll have time to pick up, like, the concept of editing. Those tools aren't super hard to learn enough to get by. But to learn them really well, that's a big learning curve. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and I started learning some of those, but I've always kind of depended on Ian or someone else to help me with the actual, like, pressing the buttons of the editing stations and stuff. But the only video I ever did where I did the whole thing, I did it on iMovie. It was that Bricktop one for.
I liked that one.
Yeah, but that was just it looked a little. If it was done on Premiere or something, it would have looked a little bit nicer.
I think my plan is I'm just looking at it what I know from the studio, where I'm going to treat it like pre-production. Yeah. So I'm going to do it the best that I can do it with the tools that I have, and then I'm going to send that with notes to someone who is a professional in this full time.
And I can go through some stuff with you about like how to log footage and stuff like that, because that'll help them when you give them the stuff.
In this day and age, man, everyone out there, don't feel like you can't get into a lane, because the amount of info on YouTube and with the advances in technology, if you put a little time into it, anybody can learn all this stuff.
It's fucking crazy. Dude, YouTube is crazy. No matter what it is in this world that you want to learn, some motherfucker knows it, has filmed it, and wants to show you how to do it. It's not always the right or the best way to do it, but usually it works. But like, whether it's like you want to learn how to edit on Adobe Premiere, or you want to learn how to change a fucking alternator on a 1982 Toyota Corolla, some motherfucker has filmed him doing or herself doing that, and they want to show you how to do it. It's fucking crazy. I can't imagine having that when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, the world is so open now. It's just fucking nuts.
And if you're in a band or you have a small business, I mean, you can be a one-man army now. You don't need the team anymore. No. So you just need to have the ability to be patient and self-educate and learn from others and try it. Don't be afraid to try it. I've never done a video like this before.
No.
But we're just rolling with the punches, and it's more, I think
that's how you learn new shit, man. Yeah. You just do it.
I think it's more important, the content and what we feel that we capture at the shoot, I think was something really special. And that's the driving force. You know?
Yeah, because the content's going to speak for itself. Your job is to just do it justice and portray it how
we captured the vibe at an unexpected level of quality than we thought we were going to get. So much so that it inspired us. Because, like I said, originally it was just for fun.
Yeah.
But Lenny really wanted to do the video, and I hadn't even thought about doing it. I thought it was just going to be maybe for like 15 or 30-second social media promotional clips or something, but I think the whole point is that in this day and age, there's nothing stopping you. Just be determined, stick to your guns, stay disciplined, hold down your bottom line, and be one with the mirror, man.
Yeah, that's man. And cream rises to the top, man. Like you can film that thing and put it together and have it out for the entire world to view in like no time flat. Like, that's what's insane. And so, but that's I just say that, like, not to you, but just to all these people, like, talking about, like, those podcasts earlier before, or people that are getting into video stuff, like, take the time to learn the craft and to kind of do it halfway decent at least before you really put it out there, man, because there's so much shit out there, dude. Like, fucking have a little bit of pride in what you do, man, and try and come correct, you know what I mean?
Yeah, spend more time on the quality of your product. Not, that's let that speak more than the social media campaign.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But I think we covered a lot, man. I
Yes,
definitely
sir.
want to thank you for coming on. How can people, you got so many different, you got your fucking fingers in so many different lanes here, dude. Like, what can someone do if they want to follow what's going on with you? What's your
Well,
social medias or
That's
or
why I
whatever?
changed the T from tour manager to team manager. One,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to stay home, but also because I'm trying to put everything under one umbrella soon, which
Well, that was your email address, right?
yeah, so it's rubenthetm@gmail. That's the best way to get a hold of me about working on any collaborations. rubenthetm@gmail. My Instagram and Facebook is just my name, Ruben Lipkind, Lipkind. And I've had the same number for like 21 years, so
Yeah.
it's probably out there.
Yeah. And
It's
if you
probably
don't,
blocked in a bunch of phones.
Yeah. If you don't have it, you probably don't need it.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Nah, but yeah, man. So look them up on Facebook and Instagram at
definitely,
Ruben Lipkind. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
My bad, I cut you off.
No, don't worry about it.
I also want to say, definitely check out the Elite. Be on the lookout for the Benny Bailey record. The Mark Miller HMNI book is coming, and this year we're going to do the reggae stuff with Mackie, and then Lenny and I are also going to have that 7-inch coming out on Rico's Boss Hooligan label. So hopefully the world doesn't end and all that stuff gets finished this year.
Absolutely, man. So that's what we can all hope for. And in this time of fucking crisis, man, keep a cool head, stay calm, collected, be cool. Don't be fucking a savage until you have to be, and to make sure you be a savage to the right people. And, read into that however the fuck you want. But, be cool, man, and look out for the people around you. And hopefully this fucking COVID-19 corona shit blows off soon, and we all get back to a normal life, and we hit the reset button, and things come back better than they were before. At least now we can identify where problems are, in our world, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
We got to plug some leaks.
yeah, man, we got to plug some leaks and identify some situations and address that. Before we wrap up today, I just need to give a shout out to Chop Cult. If you don't know them, then you're obviously not into motorcycles, but you want to go check them out because they're the biggest and best news source and social network dedicated to chopper builders and bike riders in this day and age. Check them out at www.chopcult.com. They got weekly features, blog dumps, classifieds, and one of the most active online motorcycle-related forums that there is. And best of all, it's fucking free, so it doesn't cost you anything to check it out. You know what I mean? So you got nothing to lose at all, and you're gonna have a lot of free time on your hands the next 3 weeks. And Chop Cult's been around a long time, so there's a lot of fucking archives for you to go through. You know what I mean?
Big up Chop Cult.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only can you check them out at the website at chopcult.com, you can also follow them on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, simply at Chop Cult. And on top of that, you should go to www.chopahead.com and support us here. Like I said, I am doing this all on my own with my own funds, so it's not cheap for hosting this stuff. This equipment's not cheap, so try and help us out here at chopahead.com, especially since I might be shut down by the government soon, as everyone else is. You know what I mean? But, we are a custom motorcycle shop. Primarily, we do full custom builds, and we also do service and maintenance and repairs and customization of your existing motorcycle. Whatever you need, whether you need an oil change or a full custom chopper, we'll do it all. We also sell parts and apparel and swag. We make Kevlar-lined Defender gloves. So, if you're out there getting into knife fights or crashing on your bike, this is going to help you. Don't go out and get a knife fight because I just said that on the thing. You know what I mean? But use a little bit of common sense. But if you happen to be in a precarious situation, this is going to afford you a little bit more protection than a regular glove. Everything's made in the USA that we do as with our apparel as much as we can. But these gloves are definitely made in the USA. So pick up a pair at www.chophead.com. If there's any parts or anything you need and you don't see it on our website, I'm pretty much hooked up with every parts distributor and manufacturer. If we don't make it, if I don't have it on the website, I can still get it for you. So hit us up. And if you're local, come by the shop. if there's not curfews in effect at 13 County Road, East Freetown, Massachusetts. www.chopahead.com. Instagram is @chopahead. My Instagram is @BigTruth. And the most important thing you can do is if you listen to this podcast, hit subscribe, download the episodes, leave reviews, however you get it. It's on all the, it's on Apple, it's on Android, it's on Google, it's on Spotify, it's on YouTube, anywhere where you kind of get podcasts. Give us a good review and honest review. If you don't like it, you can say it. It's cool. But if you do like it, give us a good review so we can kind of increase the profile. Maybe we get some sponsors and we can do some cooler shit down the line.
And if you're local, you definitely got to come in here. This is one of the coolest shops I've ever been in.
I appreciate that. And we do broadcast live, usually from the countertop here at Chophead, the parts counter. We just set up this podcast studio on the fly. But yeah, once again, thanks for listening. I don't know what's going to go on in the next couple of weeks. If we have to take a hiatus, it's only because we're forced to. I might do some more stuff by phone. I like doing face-to-face much better, but if I have to do a couple by phone, we'll figure that out. Again, thanks again for listening, and we stay safe. We'll talk soon.